Nekwekwe kona bia Nanya na kekbe Nekwekwe kona bia Ebem jelu ekweje Gwanu mi femgeme Omo agbatanu Gwanu mi femgeme Ejimgugwo 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 Ekwe mgbadike ekwe mgbadike ekwe anọkwa mbeme ijelubia iwe bụ akpa ego wee bịa iwe dọkwasị m n'ụkwụ iwe na-ayọ m wee jụ iwe na-ebe akwa ị na-ebe akwa onye na-eti gị ekwe mgbadike ekwe onye ibe m na-ewe iwe nya biko wee gbuo ya ọsụkọsụ nwamkpi nya biko sugbuo ya onye ife m na-ewe iwe nya biko wee gbuo ya ọsụkọsụ nwamkpi nya biko sugbuo ya selense Nekwekwe kona bia Nanya na kekbe Nekwekwe kona bia Ebem jelu ekweje Gwanu mi femgeme Omo agbatanu Gwanu mi femgeme Ejimgugwo Ekwe mgbadike ekwe anọkwa mbeme ijelubia iwe bụ akpa ego wee bịa iwe dọkwasị m n'ụkwụ iwe na-ayọ m wee jụ iwe na-ebe akwa ị na-ebe akwa onye na-eti gị ekwe mgbadike ekwe onye ibe m na-ewe iwe nya biko wee gbuo ya ọsụkọsụ nwamkpi nya biko sugbuo ya onye ife m na-ewe iwe nya biko wee gbuo ya ọsụkọsụ nwamkpi nya biko sugbuo ya selense.
Oh, it's good. A good evening to you all this evening, this good, beautiful evening. It's good night or good afternoon, wherever you are from around the world. You are welcome to yet another edition, just a follow-up of the previous edition, which is to find out what your reaction has been. And I chose to start with that song because onye hindi wole wiwe abiko webwea also cause he has to wear because there's nothing you can do about it. Just like this sky, you can't take it away. You can't wish away the sky, you know. And then no matter what we do, as you wake up in the morning, the first thing that you see when you go outside is the sky. And as you know, people have said over the years that if you go to any land and you don't see an Igbo man, you should pack your load and leave. In fact, it has become a favorite saying. Even the people who are not, don't have the same skin color with us are saying that now. That when you go to any nation and you don't find an Igbo man there, you should please pack your load and run for your life. Having said that, I want to welcome all of you. I was taking my time to make sure that we are populated before we go into this very useful discussion because I don't seem to have, I'm a bit handicapped on this because all the videos were with Dr. Damaji. So I want you guys to come in so we can have in a very robust discussion on the way forward. The question is the way forward. Should or should it not be? This month has been the month of Biafra. Biafra, of course, we all know is not an Igbo word. even though we can coin it to be Biafra, but we say it's not an Igbo word. And the mention of the name Biafra, just like the case going on in in the court with Nnamdi Kanu, Biafran word is what Kanagabi asks is Biafran word a banned word? Is it a forbidden word in Nigeria? And the question is no. If the question is no, then why are they so aggressive when somebody talks about the issue of Biafra? And Biafra, as we all know, as the Igbos have come to say, is a spirit. It's a spirit of resilience. It's a spirit of never say die. It's a spirit of saying we can achieve it. Yes, we can. It's a spirit that can do. It's a can-do spirit, and therefore it's not going to go away. Not now. Not in the next 100 years. It's going to continuously be the spirit. That spirit is found almost in everybody who can say to himself, yes, I can. I can push to the next level. I can climb up to the mountain. I can swim across the ocean. There's nothing you can do. You can't take it away. That's the way we have been, we have come to be as people of the southeast. And that does not only mean that it's only an Igbo spirit. It's a spirit of anybody who desire to say there's nothing impossible in your, that can stop you from getting to your goals. It's a spirit of saying, I can do, just like the Bible says, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. That's the spirit of Biafra. The spirit of Biafra is saying that nothing is impossible to be realized. The spirit of Biafra is saying that if they need be, you will go all the way, all by yourself. So let's not get it twisted. When you say Biafra, it doesn't mean that the Biafra is a spirit that fights with Nigeria. No, it's a spirit to say, I can do, I can. Yes, I can move forward. No matter what the obstacle is, I can go forward. So if we get it clear, then we know that the Igbos are not out to fight Nigeria. So I welcome to the this evening discussion. Great men. When you see them in this panel, I get happy because the discussion is elevated, as one of our guests used to say. They are going to be here to elevate the discussion. And I have Chim. Welcome, Chim. It's good to see you. Yeah, your mic is here. Yes, sir. Good to see you. Welcome, and we hope to have a good discussion with you later. Today, and also have on the panel also my good friend Tony. Tony, you're welcome. It's also good to hear that your daddy's house was not spared from from being the target of some of those things that happen. In fact, the majority of people from my community, I was told, ran to Chim's village for safety because in their own village they have a more bigger forest. So majority of the people from my community ran to their villages, so their forest, the forest in their village, to go and take shelter during the war. That's how close it was to people of my community. But they are welcome. You listen to the prof who had a very good understanding of. Let me give a time to welcome you, to say hello to the viewers. Yes, Mr. Tony, can you greet the viewers?
Yes, you said what?
No, I wanted you to welcome, to.
Yeah. Oh, thank you, KJ, Chim. Thank you. Good to be back here at the platform. Yes, it was quite refreshing, even though I still think that there's so many accounts, and sometimes it's difficult. Apart from eyewitness accounts, sometimes it's difficult really if you have read quite a lot of these books on the Civil War and various aspects and people's account. Sometimes you just find very contradictory statements that are made, and I learned in history that actually there is nothing like the history, just an account, a history. So but the historian, has to grapple with the fact of trying to reconcile all the facts and make out sense from it, because there are so many things that are involved when people are telling stories. Your personality, your biases, your environment, and so on and so forth. Sometimes memory loss and so on and so forth. So let me just say, but all the same, I think it was quite informative, and then it adds, to the plethora of facts that we have on the events of the Civil War.
Okay. We'll go into that because it's good you're here and you're not from the so-called core Igbo state. So it's good you're here. We'll hear from you also your own account. Uzo, okay. Uzo, you're welcome.
KJ, have we started or you're just greeting? What are we doing?
Just greeting. Just greeting. Yeah. Mr. Michael, you are welcome. Your story is going to be very interesting. So we'll hear from you. You're welcome to the panel.
Oh, KJ, it's a pleasure again. I listened to Dr. Moore throughout his program, and it was an excellent statement. And for me, being the fact that I'm part of Western Nigeria, but I happen to grow up in Northern Nigeria, that gave me that perspective of a Nigerian, because like what he say, any war is a destruction of humanity. So there's no one we can call it a war that is good. So I'm the type that I want us to think forward to see how we can correct the past. If Nigeria is going to be saying unity to be one, everybody is going to be an extremely inclusive country, regardless of your tribe. Because when you look at the Nigerian configuration, there's so much little tribe within Nigeria that are not coming. We are not able to be mentioned. We only talk Igbo, outside Yoruba. Among the outsiders, there's so many tribes. Among the Igbos, there's so many other ethnic or something. So that's for me. I just think about the progressive part of Nigeria.
We'll come to that. It's going to be a powerful discussion. Mr. Oti, you're welcome. Good to see you, sir.
Yes, thank you, gentlemen.
I was expecting you to be on the other hot seat. You didn't show up, but it's good you're here.
Oh, really, I was, I think when he started, because I had to leave a meeting and then just listened for just about an hour before he actually started talking about Biafra. Then I had to go back to the meeting. So, but when I came back, I could still listen in and hear the discussion. So yeah, I think I found it very rewarding. I would say I learned quite a lot.
Thank you so much. Thank you. We'll come to you. Onodu Udo.
That's CM.
CM. Onodu Udo CM.
We know him as CM.
Onodu Ugo.
Onodu Ugo. Sorry, I didn't see the G.
Yeah.
Onodu Ugo. Sorry. Sorry.
Brilliant.
Okay, well, go ahead, CM. Just
only say I'm not in my full only say I'm not in my full regalia. If not, it will cost you. It will cost you something. It will cost you
no problem.
No noise now. Where is the noise coming
CM,
from?
I don't have any problem with that. I don't have any problem with email memoir. That is who we are. We respect the culture, and when we go contrary, we do what we're supposed to do. So no problem.
And thank you very much. It's quite it's a pity I didn't join EMO in time. I had planned to, but something took me away and I was rushing. But thank God I entered. It's like I'm the last person to speak before he left, or I asked him a question or I will express. So I know he said a lot of things. It's good listening to people like that because somehow they participated in the war, albeit as maybe a teenager. It might not just be maybe underage in the teens or so. But the eyes of the child now, you can always recollect a lot of things. You can remember the environment, the way it were, and the way things was then. So I believe they are the people saying, very authentic if he wants to, and I believe he did. The war is not a good thing, but what is particularly painful about Nigeria is that Nigeria do not want to close that chapter. That is why.
All right. Thank you.
Telling
Thank you,
the. Okay, let me stop here.
Thank you, Chim. We'll come back to that. I'll just get in a general greeting. No, so we'll start with Chim. Chim, what is your first? I don't want to ask a question, but in the course of discussion, you have 4 minutes to tell us what is your first take on the account of the prof this evening. Because for me, I heard so many things that my uncles have told me, which is not written anywhere. So I knew that from that point, I knew that a lot of things he talked about were totally, how it happened. What's your own account?
Okay, thank you very much. It's been a wonderful Sunday. I have several accounts. I have documented accounts. I've read a lot of books on Biafra. I've read Frederick Forsyth, which I again bought while I got to Canada. I read it from my grandfather's shelf. He had the book by Frederick Forsyth. I've read the one by Elechi Amadi. I've read the one by there's another person I've read, people who were involved in the war, who they will tell you what led to it, how the war, the first coup, because you remember, at the end of the day, this whole thing that became Nigeria-Biafra civil war could have easily been Nigeria-Western regional war. That's what people don't seem to remember. People have lost that part, that this whole thing that led to Nigeria civil war started from Ibadan, started from the southwest.
Operation Wet here.
Yes, Wet here, and the tussle between Akintola and Awolowo, and then what's his name? The Prime Minister accusing Awolowo of treasonable felony and jailing him. That's what triggered and eventually led to this war. That was what the military boys who carried out that first coup were trying to counter, that got tagged an Igbo coup. And then we now had Araba, the northern military boys now countering it. And then subsequently, everything now went around. Before you knew it, it ended up becoming a Nigerian-Biafra civil war. So I've read books, try to understand, but I've also heard from first how do you put it?
First account
by people. My parents were born then. My parents were on the move, as single young people. My father fought in the war. My mother was a young lady. They kept carrying them from one place to the other. She would tell you how they walked all the way from Makurdi to back to the southeast. People don't know that people did some of those things. No, it wasn't all about trade. There were people living in the bushes, running around and all. You would hear, there were stories you would hear and you'd be like, what? This happened? Yes. So I have family members who never returned back to the east. I had a family member who put his wife and children in the train and sent them back because he was a very wealthy businessman in the north. And he spoke Hausa fluently and he thought he was going to be protected. Till today I'm talking to you, his children never saw him again. He never came back. The wife committed suicide because of it. So there are all sorts of stories about all those things. But the one thing that I like, which he tried to bring out, is as an Igbo man, I know a lot of Igbos will not be happy with him when he says it was an avoidable war. I've heard from education in classes where lecturers have said that because of the age of the core actors in that war was avoidable. Remember, Gowon was about 20-something years old. Ojukwu barely had just gotten into his 30s himself. All of these guys were just hot-blooded human beings. What is his name? Kaduna Nzogu, how old was he? 20-something too. Everybody was 20-something. If actually all of them were all 20, which is an age where young men usually do crazy things. And what it has helped me do is it has helped me appreciate university cult, to be honest with you, because if you look back, all the boys in the universities who get into all these cults, I don't want to start mentioning their names, you all know what I'm talking about. That's the age of adventure. They're always, maybe the guys who went to Sandhurst, listening to the lecturers talk to them, begin to dream of when they will go back home to their countries and try and make a change. on things. So some of those things also had to do with the age where these young men were at the point of at that time. But the only part of this whole thing is the closure the Nigerian government has refused to give that whole process. There's supposed to be a closure, and that closure is one, to make it a history that we'll discuss. We're not going to all agree on the reasons. We're not all going to agree on who was at fault or not at fault, but you make it, like CM was saying somewhere else earlier now. Do you know people have PhDs in American Civil War?
See?
Just American Civil War on its own. There are people who have PhDs on it. Yeah, they have studied their. You hear the person is a scholar of the American whatever. Just not global politics, just American Civil War. So I think the Nigerian state needs to realize that the way our politicians think, we don't see things from the angle of, okay, even though yes, it's not something we like, but hey, it's our history. It's like a man trying to deny that he comes from a poor home and just wants to project the picture that he's always been a rich man. That's not good history. You need to let people need to know. There was a time I had 1 kobo, and I grew from 1 kobo to 1 room, from 1 room to this, and today I have this empire. That's it. That's the story. That's the story you hear, successful people tell. The same way nations have a history. Don't kill it because you don't like the nature of that history. Let it be something that we can all study, understand it. We won't always agree on the causes, the solutions, and everything. But I just believe the way the Nigerian government and the Nigerian system treats that whole Nigeria-Biafra civil war is not a good service for Nigeria as a whole. It's
okay.
And that's the angle I love what he tried to bring out.
All right, but I'll come back to you, but maybe I'll go to Tony with this question. Now, he said that Nigerian war, could be avoidable. First and foremost, any conflict, civil conflict or military conflict or otherwise, can be avoidable if the two people decides to agree. But having seen the activity that led to the war, you think it would have been avoidable?
Me or Tony?
No, Tony. Tony.
I would also like to answer it later.
Okay.
Yeah, I greetings everybody again. Greetings, KJ. I would have argued against, but this is a professor. Some of the things that he said, I really don't accept. I don't agree, first of all, to answer your question, that war was avoidable. And I give you the reasons. If you look at our colonial history and what was handed over to us by the British, you can see traces that the country, in fact, there are books written by even the colonialists, where they have predicted that the way from our colonial history and from the ethnic characteristics and makeup and fears, ethnic fears, that independence that we have, that was not going to work. That unity, was going to break down at some point. So and I give you some of the things why I say that. You see, if you look at some of the reports, intelligence report on Nzogu when he was in the Congo, his commanding officer, who was a white person at the time, wrote a report, and I'm sure CM, what's his name now, Chief, will attest to that. There were warnings that Nzogu should be watched, because he was too radical for the military, and that if care is not taken, he's going to cause a problem for the military. But because he's a northerner, quote and unquote, I think they didn't take that thing seriously. The other thing that I want to say, I once worked in a company where I had late Ambassador Olujimi Jola-Osho as my chairman. He was one time Nigerian ambassador to the United States. He was also ambassador to Germany. and ended up as Director General of Nigerian Institute of International Affairs. But he started his career in the Congo when he was very young, 20-something. So he knew Ojukwu, he knew Agi Ironsi, he knew Nzogu, he knew all those boys. And then he went to London, as a diplomat. And Agi Ironsi was there, Ojukwu was there. I recall he wrote a book, his memoirs, which I mentioned here. A career diplomat, one of our career diplomats. And he did say when he was discussing with us, because we discussed these issues to tap, gain from his experience. And as we were discussing Nigeria, he said to us, his wife is from Delta State, so I'm close. They took me like a son. So he said to us, well, to me, when I was asking him a few questions about Nigeria, when they were, first of all, when Agi Ironsi was promoted general, it caused a problem because some people felt that he should not have been promoted. That someone else from the north ought to have been promoted. And then Agi Ironsi went and wore his badge. He's supposed to be officially decorated. But he did that and was seen. And he was reported by another attaché, military attaché who was there to the Nigerian government. And then he caused a stir. And he would have been in trouble, but for the intervention of some British officers and so on and so forth. What I'm trying to say is that you could see that from the onset, there was mutual suspicion. The independence that we had and the balance of power was one that was shaky. And the various interests that we had that make up Nigeria was built on suspicion. So that it was clear that it wasn't going to take long before the bubble was going to burst. Now, for the coup, he told me, may his soul rest in peace, that Ojukwu told him, I can quote this, Obalagaba. This was before the coup. Obalagaba. In other words, he knew that something was going to happen. And it's no secret, because if you read some books, they tell you they knew. Even the federal government knew at the time that there were rumors of coups, which the Professor Moore also attested to. So they knew they knew maybe for some reason they didn't take it seriously. So it was clear that, the nation, the fragile independence, they were sitting on a very fragile, unity, that the bubble was going to burst at any time. So the Western crisis just provided the spark, was just the remote cause, because the system, things that were going to cause trouble, it just needed a spark, for this thing to snowball. So to that extent, with that, I mean, this is somebody, an eyewitness talking to me. He's late now. So it wasn't structurally, that union was defective. Because you had people who had different aspirations and who didn't believe in Nigeria as a united, state. So it was just a question of time, So that's why I said it would have come, but maybe it may not have come as Biafra or something where it would have come. And then there was also the thief problem, if you remember, in the Middle Belt. So there were all these crises that were gathering, and so it was clear that there was something wrong, and which the politicians were not able to deal with, and it was just only a question of time before that happened.
I will come to Oti. Oti, he said something which hitherto most other people who have spoken about the Biafran war don't say. He said before the Ojukwu took the decision, he has a called for a national discussion. He called for the people of the southeast, not only Igbos, but every other major language in the southeast was represented in that assembly for which that decision was taken. Have you heard that part of history before? And if you have, then why is it made to look as if it was only the Igbos who decided to go for this Biafran war?
KJ, right.
Yes.
I think this okay, I'll answer your question, and there's a simple answer to that, and
yes. Please go ahead.
I would also like to respond to the question you asked, or rather the question about the avoidability or unavoidability of the war. I have to just so now the question you asked, I think no, I have heard that. I mean, it's because the even though it was a military administration, but I think it's common knowledge that Ojukwu just didn't wake up and declare the war. It was a kind of a collective, if like okay, quote unquote democratic decision. So the people of the East Central State,
Eastern region.
so Eastern region, sorry, not Eastern Eastern region, not Eastern State. So yes, they kind of voted for the war. So it's not just a one man decision. Okay, so I think is a kind of a settled point. Really, there shouldn't be an argument about that. No, but now let me the question you asked about what the prof said that the war was avoidable. Yes, I mean again I can't argue that, and every war is avoidable as a general point, because we fight war when politics fails. There's no other explanation. So it's just I don't. There's nothing to argue there. Okay, now if you permit me, I want to read out something what Achebe wrote in he called this what is Nigeria to me. Just it goes to the it's described as a paradox of Biafra, because the prof also raised the issue of the question was asked him, was put to him, was there any kind of foreign interference, foreign interest? Clearly there was, and he answered the question that way, and also kind of also highlighted the role the British played. Again, that is also a history that is known to everyone. But so let me read what Achebe wrote in his essay, "What is Nigeria to Me?" So the paradox of Biafra was that the Igbo themselves had originally championed the Nigerian nation more spiritedly than other Nigerians. One proof of this, the British had thrown more of them into jail for sedition than any others during the 2 decades or so of pre-independence agitation and troublemaking. So the Igbo were second to none on the nationalist front when Britain finally conceded independence to Nigeria in 1960, a move that, in retrospect, seems like a masterstroke of tactical withdrawal to achieve a supreme strategic advantage. So, what this says to me is this. Again, it goes to show, or one can deduce from that the war really hasn't quite finished. The war is ongoing, and the Nigerian state, Nigerian nation, is not sovereign. It's not a Nigerian. It's not something the Nigerians, people of Nigeria, something that they have are conscious about. Okay, really, what's the whole affair, the interest of Nigeria, Nigerian peoples? It's it's the whole thing is teleguided. There are foreign interests that Nigeria is not. It's not. It's not a nation. So that is nothing. Otherwise, you ask yourself, okay, having fought this brutal civil war, why can't Nigerians bring it to an end and then make a start and forgive themselves? The war is ongoing. So who is responsible for that? Or who's benefiting from that? So that is okay. Now that brings me to the current situation we find ourselves in Nigeria 2025. We have Biafran Independence Remembrance Day celebration on Friday. I wonder how many of us here, because I'm in Manchester and I'll be taking part in a remembrance celebration. I don't know if those of us that are in this panel who are going to be taking part in some remembrance activity. And the question becomes, when we come together to remember the victims, why? What is it about? Why do we do it? Okay, I think for me, the reason is this. Okay, history. It's not only writing history, making history. We have to also learn from history and use the past to understand the present. Because there's a continuity. So having a proper reflection of the war, the events, having diverse interpretations of it, we can then begin to understand our the present situation better, and then try and see how we can avoid situations that led to the war in the first place. To avoid
Okay.
the mistakes that
Okay.
that we made. So I think for me that is the point of remembrance. So trying to understand it's not just having having a memory of the war, refreshing it,
Okay.
but actually learning the lesson of it.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. You went to primary school, I assume, and in your primary school, did you ever had any fight in the primary school?
A
Did you ever
fact.
have somebody who
Oh
is like a
yes.
bully who
Yes.
always okay? There's when that bully comes to you and you say you don't want to fight and insists on fighting you, what do you normally do in the end of the day? Do you leave him to just slap you all over, or you also put up a good defense for yourself?
Oh, okay. From personal experience, yes, but often perhaps with the backing of a friend, kind of.
Okay. Well,
So you fight, but
why I just brought that in is once someone decides to fight you,
mm,
whether you like it or not, the only one defense you have is either you put up your own defense, or just like you said, friends help you,
yes.
or you just keep quiet and let them slap you all over. And when they finish, get tired of slapping you, then you walk to your home. Me, I will never take that. In fact, I will fight. In fact, I'd rather fight. I've fought many times in my primary school because, like I said, I was one of the few Igbo people with my sister there. So can actually. So what I'm simply saying that when they bring that fight to you, there's very little you can do. But let me go to CM, and I want to also put across to CM a question that one of the panelists have just asked. He said that a certain NU Akpan, the secretary of the Eastern region, said that I suspected that something was in the air, but why had I not been informed in his book? And I'm wondering, this prof said there was a national unity where they sat to take this this decision to to put up a fight. If he is the secretary and is not writing to trying to play to the gallery, was he not in that meeting where this decision was taken as the secretary? I mean, wave that into your other responses.
Well, straight up, it sounds curious. There is what I think Mike, apart from Michael, who is not Igbo here, that's what we Igbo say on Onazamagoku. You can be part of a congregation, top ranking, and you say you are not aware of what is being discussed. Gowon created the 12 states, dissolved the 4 regions. That is to say, Eastern region, Western region, Northern region, Midwestern region. Dissolved them and created 12 states out of them on 27th May 1967. It so happened that because of that, by 28-29, there was nothing like Eastern region anymore. It had been broken down into Southeastern state, River state, and East Central state. The Western region became Western state. Midwestern region became Midwestern state. Northern region became a Northeastern state, capital at Meduguri. Northwestern state, capital at Sokoto. Kano state in Kano. Benue Plateau state in capital at Jos. North Central state in Kaduna, and then Kwara state in Ilori. That completes Nigeria, the 12 states. So Ojukwu felt, not really Ojukwu, the Eastern region felt slighted. And when I mean Eastern region, Enu Akpan is aware because he is the secretary to the government of Eastern region. So they now called a meeting called the Eastern Region Consultative Assembly, made up of Ojukwu was there, Akanu Ibiam as the Akanu Ibiam was there, Emayokbara, all the chiefs from Degema, the riverine Nigeria, all of them were represented. Even Lieli Imoke, the father of former governor of Cross River, Lieli Imoke, the father. So all of them, it was a decision that they took. Say, what do we do now? He said, rather than go on, hey, just like let me chip in this to answer the question you answered. Tony, you asked Tony, is it avoidable? Of course, the civil war is avoidable because they've gone to Aburi. If Gowon had come back and then announced Aburi and then everything ends, nobody is willing to go to war. Aburi was the antidote. But Gowon came back. Rather than say what they discussed. I mean, Gowon was leaving for Aburi. He addressed Nigeria as the head of state. He said, we are going to Aburi in search of solution. People said, okay, fade you well. You came back. You didn't call them again to tell them. And Ojukwu said, when you go back, you make a broadcast. Do you know what Gowon said? Gowon said he had malaria. I have evidence because he said it in an address, which he gave to students at Odumegwu Ojukwu University in Anambra State. He said it, that when he came back, he had malaria. That was on January 6th, 1967, when they came back. He said they had malaria, having stayed in Ghana January 4th and January 5th. So you had malaria till May 27th. You go and create a state. You can imagine from January. Anyway, that is by the way. So what happened was, I can't exonerate Mr. Akpan, Akpan. No. When he says that he's being disingenuous, you can't tell me. It's like asking, whose office will put that in writing? Could they have written an address for Ojukwu to go and broadcast without any Akpan not aware, even if it's not in the committee? I mean, you are the secretary to Eastern Region, the entire Eastern Region. They now divided it into three, which means because you are from the southeastern state part of it, is your office no longer in Enugu? With your office now moved to Calabar because Calabar became a capital of southeastern state. So saying that maybe it's one of those things people write down in a book just to see if they can, so that the book might sell or to chip in one atom of propaganda. No, given his position, I doubt it. Seriously, that he's not aware something is in the air they will declare. By the way, is it not Frank Opigo, former the founder or even the owner of no, it's not. I think the owner of Okrika Grammar School and the principal. He may not be the owner, but there was the principal of Okrika Grammar School. It was Frank Opigo when Ojukwu was asking around. This new republic, how do we call it? Southeastern Nigeria or whatever. They were bandying names. Opigo said, let's call it Biafra, Republic of Biafra, because of the bite of Biafra, which is on the Atlantic where the whole thing will be. So Frank Opigo brought the name, and all of them carried it. Frank Opigo is not even Igbo. So for Enu Akpan, if Opigo will be there, where was Enu Akpan? No, I find it difficult. You see, to me, it's not plausible at all. I do not think so. So whatever claim he's claiming, he's not aware. So which means they took him unaware. When you are the secretary to the state government, is he not aware that a state Gowon created 12 states on 27th May 1967, which is in 2 days time, it becomes how many years? Maybe 58 years or 59 years, whatever. So what is he trying to say? No.
Is it? I like your answer, and I want to respond. Well, not. I just want to lay it out there. Some of these things that we read now and hear are not actually what it is. So I want those people who are interested in knowing what transpired before the war and during the war and after the war, to go back and make your own research. Just like the prof said, parties were going on in Lagos. No, people didn't think there was even war. That's why you see, anytime they talk about war now, they all say, no, you know what happened in 1966. You guys don't know what happened in 1966 or 1966. You don't know. 67 war. You don't know it because there was not such war going on in the far north and in the west. You see, so the force of the
please,
force of the
please,
war was felt mostly in the south, in the
please,
southeast. So now I'm coming. Just
please,
1 minute.
please,
When you
okay,
say people of the southeast were forced into the war, who forced them into the war? And when these people who have the first-hand account comes, you guys who say these things, come and ask them a question. On Friday, which is Biafran Day, please come. He will be here. He took part in the war. He grew up in the war and became whatever he has become. After the war, he has met those who took part in the war. Come and ask your question so that you can be strengthened. Throwing in questions that don't make any this thing because you don't have it's not a hearsay, it's not a marketplace discussion. At least we'll have something somewhere we're starting from. Anyway, Prof, do you have anything to say? Because I want to move to Mr. Michael, who also has a very beautiful account because I hear his account. He is not Igbo, but his family played a big role in all that happened, and he has also his own account. And remember what the prof said. These are individual accounts. They may never come to collective, but we all can discuss from our own point. Why I can discuss from what my mom have told me and how it transpired. And I can discuss from my dad what I can put those stories together. But we will never have a collective of the same people telling the same story because all of us were at different places at a different time. And remember, there was no cell phone that I can call CM and say, oh, we are now in Uzoakole. No, there was nothing like that. It was, word of mouth. If I'm able to get to your position, I'll tell you what is going on in Olu. I'll tell you what is going on in Owerri. It's only when I get there. If I don't get there, there's no other way of communicating such things. So let's be mindful of those things that played out at the time it played out, instead of moving into a modern day and hoping that everybody was knowing what was going on at the same time. It was never so, And that's why when some people blame the coup plotters, I wonder what they're thinking. How do you think the people are, having conversation? Except somebody drives to the location where you are. How else will he communicate with you, on such sensitive issues? When the coup failed, the people in the north didn't even know that the coup has failed in other places. They were still carrying out their own order as was planned, But these things are not looked at. You say, okay, why didn't people stop? Or why didn't you do this? It wasn't that easy. Anyway, I'm going back to you, Sian. Let me allow Mr. Michael to come. Go ahead.
Okay, yeah. The 1 minute, what I want to add is, regarding what some people are writing on but let me say this. There's a book called In Biafra, Africa Died. I've read it there. And then there's another book that is by Emefiena, for those that want to read. There's another book written by, I will get the name. Ojukwu, the kings, the Amanyanabo of all those Okreka and all those, the Jos River. Because they were part of Eastern region. They came in the meeting and they agreed that this is what should be done. That's what Opigo can't come alone. But as the thing was going, Ojukwu called them. Ojukwu said it is better that the terrain, the terrain of your area, something like all the creeks, Biafran soldiers cannot be able to defend you because they are going to come through Cameroon by boat or by whatever. We can't be able to defend you there. He said the best thing is claim that you are a Nigerian so that you can be alive. If we get to the after that, you can then join. It's written down. That was the suggestion Ojukwu gave to them. He said, I know you want to join us, but if you join us, it means that the soldier defending Enugu, Onisha, Soka, Umuahia, Owerri, which is the hinterlands, no ocean, they are not capable. They can't defend you at the creeks because they never knew this type of thing will happen. That Nigeria will send advice because they've gotten Cameroon to come through Cameroon and then start shelling all those places. And then you people will be the first casualty. So the best thing is you declare allegiance to the federal side. We know. So that you can be alive. Then after the war, we hope to establish our destiny, then you can then join us, whether by plebiscite or whatever. It's written down. But the propaganda about this war is that people tend to bring it in a way that, these people, no, it wasn't force. there was agreement. There was a consensus that having done this, Gowon refused to say. Till today, Gowon haven't said what was discussed at Aburi. Till today, nowhere has said it. So why did we go to Ghana? Why did we go to Ghana? You came back, you didn't want to say it. Why not tell Nigerians? Ojukuso na Ghana, Aburi, we stand. On June 12th, we stand. They refuse. 30 years later, they are giving Abiola national honor, talking of how to give Abiola's family 45 billion to compensate them. Now, say declaring June 12th national democracy day. All these things are just, fire brigade approach. Why not do the right thing? But he said, no. June 12th. You see, that is human Nigerian for you. Sorry, Michael, but let me just chip this in. Thank you. You can
All right,
continue.
Mr. Michael.
Okay, KJ. Oh, thank you, guys. Thank you, gentlemen. I really appreciate you guys. For me, KJ, you said something about this war. In 1967, I know vividly very well. We were in Lagos, so we don't have the effects of the casualty that happened in the East, but we have the effect of the emotion. Because every time I remember, our parents, when they hear the plane flying, they tell us, turn off the lights, everywhere be dark, and we will hide under the bed. So that's to tell you how. So when people are saying Lagos, I was in Lagos, so they didn't experience the war. It is true that we didn't get the impacts of the casualty, but we can hear every time we hear plane coming, they tell us, turn off every light, anything that you have, hide. That's it. So even to the point that I think in Lagos, some people have a bomb bunker that they were running to. I don't know how that, but I grew up experiencing that in Nigeria, in Lagos. Then eventually we moved to Zaria in 1969. So moving to Zaria, that's when I was able to experience what my brother and sister in the eastern regions actually experience directly, because I was able to go into that area to see the destruction, because some of the property were completely burned down. They were set on fire. Even the market stop, some market stop in Zaria, which is called Central Market for the Igbo, was completely burned down. But I never see, them at that time, maybe a lot of my brothers, a lot of Eastern Igbo have already departed, moved out of Zaria or out of the northern Nigeria at that time. But their property, you can see the damage that was done as young. So that was my experience of the war. And for me, listening to Dr. Moore, it's good to have a vivid knowledge of something that we all don't experience. Like everybody I've said in this panel, Nigerians have a mentality of deception and failure to accept who we are. Because number one, Nigeria, the way the country was formed, is on a fragile level. It was not on a good foundation. That's to me, because I'm a historical student. I read much about Nigeria. It was not a good foundation. And that's why my question was to Dr. Moore at that time, what are the extent of the foreign influence into Nigerian discourse? Because to me, it's like, yes, it's very, because where do we get this ammunition from? I know in the Eastern region, people were genuinely creating their own weapon, and I know it through the history. But at the actual destruction of war, that the bomb that was dropping, who supplied the bomb? You see, who supplied it? So now from Dr. Moore has explained what the British did, how the British sabotage every effort. This is why I always tell people that it's time for us, especially the Africans, to learn our history and to move away from the colonialists, the colonial master. Because for me, it's very important, because for us, we keep blaming. That's one thing I learned about this country, just like me coming to this country. And that's why, for me as an individual of African descent, I come to this country, I never blame the African American. Because if we go back to 500 years for what these people have gone through, taken away, their tribe, their religion, all their identity wiped off. And you guys tell me, oh, American is good. No, it is not. There's all of us here at this age. We grew up, we have all our emotion and everything compacted together. And that's why I say sometimes in our culture, we have no emotional intelligence. Because we grew up, our parents, there's no emotional connection. We just grew up, be a man and go ahead and do what you got to do to survive. That's our instincts as Africans. So for me, is that I learned a lot from you guys, and I'm so much enjoying. That's why I come to this platform, for me to learn, because if you want to learn about history, you have to learn from the source.
Yes, and I thank you, Michael, because that's what this prof did for us today. Except anybody who does not appreciate, hearing the truth, and he gave an account that hitherto very few people have the opportunity of hearing. And with that, I come to Chim to ask Chim, from what we have seen so far, have we as a nation been able to learn from history what led to where we are? And have we made any change to the way we are operating before the war and now after the war?
First and foremost, I don't think, pointedly, I'll tell you no, because, I mean, when we're talking about was the war avoidable? Yes. One of the reasons why I think it was avoidable is I don't know what my mindset would be sitting as head of state if I was Gowon. And then I went somewhere, sat down with my brother from the other side of the country, and I mean Ojukwu in this instance, and we're trying to see how we can resolve the issue. And he's saying, listen, let's come up with a confederate system where, every unit has some measure of power, where we don't have a strong thing and we can control ourselves. And then you agreed. You saw the logic in it. Because don't forget, like somebody rightly said here, I think, was it today that somebody said it, that Gowon took advantage of that thing to extricate the Middle Belt from being in the grips of the core north, which is why he created Benue State, and then then it was called Benue Plateau as one state. He pulled them out of the core north. That's where he comes from. So he recognized all the challenges that those people had faced being under the old overbearing northern region, and he split those things. I don't think Sadwana, if Sadwana was alive, Gowon would have been able to do that kind of thing. Because the man understood what that meant, but he did it. So, but the point I want to bring out from all of this is this.
But Chim, if you say that, from what I know, it was the northern officer that forced Gowon to take that decision. So whether the standard was alive or not,
no. So when you say northern officers, don't forget
led by, in fact, the chieftain in that was Murtala Mohammed.
Okay, hold on.
Even told him that if he doesn't do that, they will take him out.
Okay, so I don't know about that part, but what I can tell you is this. Do not forget that at the time when we were fighting this war, what you call today the Middle Belt formed the core of the enlightened Northerners in the Nigerian Armed Forces. All of them were all from Benue, Plateau, what we call today as Taraba State. That's why you see today now, that man called Danjuma is screaming. These are the people who were the Northerners who were enjoying top portfolios in the Nigerian Armed Forces. They were all, at some point, many of them were even from Langtang. That's why there's been this conspiracy about the Langtang, I don't know, the mafia, the Langtang mafia, which under Babangida, they tried to decimate and reduce their powers, Duncan Bali and Co. and all those kinds of people. Now, but the point I was trying to bring out is this. Why would I listen to a foreign entity after I've agreed with my brother and a foreign entity comes and says, that's not good? As we're talking now here and we agree on something, and then some white guy comes to me and says, no, don't agree with KJ or even Michael. Let me says I shouldn't agree with Michael. When I see the good that what me and Michael have agreed on will produce, then some other guy comes to me to tell me no. And then I go with that person. That's why I constantly have blamed, because it's at the core of solving Nigeria's problem. Today we're saying Tinubu is running to France. Today we're saying Tinubu, rather than align with those guys in Niger and Burkina Faso, prefers to go and align with France. So I want to look at it from that perspective. This is the thing we do. There's a divide and rule system that, you know, the Western people have always used against us, and we always fall victim for it. We always fall. They appeal to the inner evils in us and our selfishness. They will sell something that makes you see this personal benefit you will get rather than the group advantage that you can gain to say, this is my brother, this is my sister. I think it's better for me. People, listen, people fight. Families and families, people fight. I can tell you, a reasonable family, somebody comes and tells you, oh, your brother wants to take your land. You'll be a stupid person if you don't go back and review it and say, hold on, what's the interest of this outsider in this matter that concerns me and my brother? That's the way to solve Nigeria's problem. I want the Northerners. We were having a conversation yesterday evening, and I said, I can appreciate when you talk about affirmative action in the US for Black people, for instance, because slavery and consistent, repressive activities did not allow these people to grow. So when you bring up an affirmative action to encourage them to get educated, I can understand it. I cannot understand an affirmative action in Nigeria because the people who are in Nigeria are Northerners. So are you saying the Igbo man or the Ibibio man who has not been in prime position to lead the country is the one oppressing or stopping Northerners from having an education? It doesn't make sense to me. That's why when you talk about all this federal character in Nigeria, it's all hogwash. I don't seem to agree with it. So, okay. In summary,
let me just say this, Jim. I agree with you with that federation that you said. It's absolutely nonsense because KJ, we are testifying to it. If you are a Northerner, you're studying abroad, you got federal government aid, state aid, local government aid. Between me, all of us, how many of us here today do we get any scholarship? But they get it. So that's to tell you how it is.
So to summarize, to move forward, I always said it. We need to have, leaders who will come out and say, okay, listen, this is our land. We didn't force ourselves. I mean, like Dr. Mo said, he didn't force himself to be an Igbo man. In fact, he didn't force himself to bear the name Ene. The name Ene is more Efik and Ibibio linked than even Igbo, although he's an Igbo man. So until we sit down and begin to say, you know what is good for the goose is good for the gander. Nigeria is not going to move on. Remember, I will end with this phrase. I have said it a gazillion times here. Ojim nala ji onwe. If you hold me to the ground and say I shouldn't stand up, the energy you're using, you can't, because the moment you release me, then I'm free.
Okay.
Nigeria is holding.
I will pick it from that, Shim, and I thank you for your contribution. Tony, you see, what Shim just said is very important. Is Nigeria holding itself? Because we have what it takes to develop. You do not want the country to divide, yet you do not want to hear how to configure the country to help you move forward, or the people of the country to realize their actual their desires. And I'll say that just opposing what is going on now in Burkina Faso, the world now is saying that whatever we're seeing there is social media is not real. But whether it is real or not, what we're saying that the man seems to have a vision of where he wants to take his people. What is the Nigerian vision of where we're going to be? And if this war has not taught us any lesson, what's going to teach us a lesson?
That's a loaded question. KJ, the point that I made initially is that I'm trying to say that emotion is a powerful tool that you can use, to play on people, to indoctrinate them. And once they are sold to it, it is difficult. You remember that when Anthony and Ahuru moved motion for independence of Nigeria in 1953. Okay. A section of the country refused. And they didn't just refuse because someone told them that if you accept, then you are going to be seriously marginalized. So there is this emotion that has been driven and baked in, and that has been running through our politics. Okay, so that's why I said that even if Biafra didn't happen, from what we're seeing, from the way the foundation that was laid, from the structure that we had and the mutual suspicion amongst the various ethnic groups that formed the country, it was just clear that something was going to happen. Okay, so, and that has continued to run in our politics up to today. Let me give you an example. I just use, because I don't want to talk too much about the civil war. And of course, you guys will know for obvious reasons why I don't want to talk about it, because something that gets me emotional because of the way it affected me and my people. But let me tell you something. My uncle is late now. My mother's younger brother. He was one of the pioneer avionists that Nigeria had. They sent him to Canada, sent him to England, spent a lot of money training them in those days before independence. And so he rose. And he rose rapidly. And I remember, that in one of the training that he went in Canada, and training that he went, all over the world, he came first. And the Canada wanted to retain him. And my uncle, because he's this textbook, he goes by the book, he won't look left and right, just what real civil servant. He said no, that his country sent him here, spent money for him to come here, he's finished, he has to go back to his country. Okay, of course, then Nigeria was very good. Now, but over time, and this is a tragedy, and this is what informed even I never worked for government, and I decided I'm not going to be employed in public service. I won't work. Now, my uncle rose up to a point. It got to a point where even those he trained were placed above him. Why? Because he's Igbo. He went to prison when the war started. He was in Lagos. They imprisoned him just because he's Igbo and he's flying, plane that there was a Nigerian plane that got missing. So because he's Igbo, all the Igbo people there, my uncle, my uncle-in-law, they were locked up in prison. After a while, they were set free. It took about 2 years before they were set free. Anyway, but they kept on putting people above him. And you know what will happen? The minister then of aviation, I won't mention his name, they will look at those that are supposed to be promoted. They say, an Hausa man must be there. A Yoruba man must be there. If they're not there, no. So my uncle was always a victim. It's not only him. I can mention some other people from River Kofon, and many others who were from south, southeast, south Odigwe, and so on. So they were frustrated. And people they trained who were far their juniors were placed over and above them just because they came from a section of the country. Not that they were not good. They were good, excellent. So I saw, what did they do? They gave him a big office. Big office. But that's all. And when I saw, because I don't want to take too much time. When I saw the things, because I was close to him, when I saw the things that was happening to him, and yet this was a man that was dedicated. This was an aviation chief. And if he's traveling from here to Port Harcourt, or from Port Harcourt down to Lagos, he would take a bus, even though he could get a free ticket. And in fact, on one occasion, I confronted him. I said, Uncle, why are you suffering? Why are you doing this to yourself? He said, if everybody begins to take free ticket, how is the airline going to make business? I just shook my head. But that was the kind of man dedicated to the core, will not take a penny. Auditors don't go to his section, his zone, to go and inspect him, because he won't give you bribe and you won't see anything. There's nothing. So they don't go to him. Okay? So what I'm trying to say is that, you see, that we have carried over for years. I'm saying the fact. I'm not lying here. And I decided that there was no way that I'm going to work in the public service, whether federal or state. Never. Because I won't take that nonsense. So the point that, to relate it to the question that you're asking, listen, unless we deal with this issue, unless we deal with, the nation cannot move forward. There's no way it can move forward. This is how it's been built. And it's because they fear. For instance, they fear Igbo man is a defeated person. You can't trust the Igbo man. You can't give him a serious command. You can't put him in there because you don't trust him. That mutual suspicion, whether rightly or wrongly. And it's not just the Igbo man. That suspicion, that stereotyping, that pigeonholing, is something that is destroying this country. Because we read ethnic motives to everything that anybody does. We read ethnic motives to the coup. We read everything that anybody does. Oh, he's from here. Oh, he's the IPOC. Oh, he's this one. Oh, he's that one. As long as we have that mindset and we can break free from that kind to think, and then the painful thing is that sometimes you find those who you think should know better also pandering to this nonsense. So it's destructive. There's no nation that I know that has moved forward, that has developed, that thinks this way. There are problems. Even here where we are, we see what the president is doing. You see the thinking, and you see the problem is causing everywhere. Because once you begin to show a leader should be a leader for all. You see, for all.
I agree with you.
So all those federal character, they were meant to address certain issues, but they're not working. I mean, somebody will have 300% to get admission from a particular area, and there will be 100 of them. And then someone has 150, and he gets admission. And all the other ones that have 300, they say, we need 10 people from that place. So you take, how can you build a nation that will progress if you now take mediocres?
So
you don't do it when you're playing soccer. You don't do it when you're playing soccer. You don't do it when you're playing soccer. But when it comes to such, yes.
That I'm coming to with Oti. That brings us to the next question. Mr. Oti, if you can hear me.
Yes.
Now,
okay.
Tony just hit an issue I want to talk about, and that is the fact that
No, KJ, I think somebody joined now. We've been talking.
I can't see anybody. Oh, sorry. Oh, my sorry.
Black Panther.
I'm so sorry that I totally forgot. That you are here. I'll come back to you, Tony. Oti. Black Panther. I don't know if you heard, if you follow this, if you listen to the prof, and if you follow.
Oh, that's KJ.
Yes, sir.
I know you are a journalist, retired journalist, I guess so, from Nigeria. Then.
Yes,
you
sir.
know, you don't want me to speak now.
Why would I not want you to speak, my brother? No verse. I just didn't.
Well, I want to adopt my cap for everyone that has spoken. With due respect, I say all of you are one of the best. You are the best out of Nigeria, quote and unquote, because I hate calling that name, that country, and that's why I put it in quote. You are the best you are one of the best from the South that ever came out of the Southeast. And anybody that would tag you with a name, that person must be out of his mind. I want to thank everyone, and I want to thank the owner of this platform. He's an humble man. He is humble, but when it comes to putting the writing on the table, he's like a tiger. He's humble. He's like a dove, but when he wants to sting, he stings more than a bee. So I want to say thank you to everyone, and thank you to him himself. He's doing a great service to his country, quote and unquote Nigeria. You see, I'm a child of history, and I come from a culture where we don't throw our history, neither do we throw our tradition side. We uphold our tradition, and we are proud of where we come from. I'm from the Benin Empire. So I'm proud, as the Igbos are proud I am proud. I'm even more comfortable being among the Igbo people. Because when it comes to call a spade concerning the space called Nigeria, they speak truth. And if you don't want to hear the truth, you go and catch the transformer. That is our history. The war was fought. And they say there is no winner, nor whether there is a loser, there's no winner. There was a winner. The Nigeria state and the imperialists brought forth more than 4 million Easterners down, armless people. And still, there was nothing done. And still, there's nothing raised for that. No honor, nothing. And a man came for an election during the military regime. He won. That was the best election ever in Nigeria. He won. And they are raising a monument for him. You can see how lopsided the country can be. That is why I say every day that Nigeria is never and was never a country. It was a conglomerate of imperialists and those that sold our people out for slaves that joined hand in hand with them to form this amalgamation. It's an industry for the imperialists. Because our survival, our existence is their survival. That is why they make the nation to where it is today. And they feed those that are part and parcel, the partners with the imperialists. They feed them with history that is not ours. They turn history upside down. And they make us believe that we are the problem of our country. We are the problem of our nation. Can everybody tell me out here where a nation is formed and we have not sat down to read and said, this is our constitution, that we are well pleased and proud of it? Have we done it?
No.
We've not done it, and yet we come here to call ourselves in Nigeria a name that was given to you by a prostitute. Sorry for my word. And we uphold that name, and we are proud of that name every day we go. And now we cannot even hold our passport to cross the border of another country. Why? Because we are not yet a nation. The Niger Republic man can travel to the United States if he has a visa. Nobody will embarrass him the way he embarrassed. The Nigerian man is embarrassed with that green passport. Why is it so? Can we answer the question, why is it so? The Igbo man has been set aside. Every Nigerian should speak for the Igbo man, because if the Igbo man does not get his fair share of this amalgamation, which is dead to me, if they don't have their fair share, this country will be in the sky. Every day you just sit in the sky, but it's not the country, it's a farmland. We have to sit down. That is why I put on I said, a new constitution, or we dissolve this country called Nigeria. Because we are not proud. Can any of you say you are proud of your country? Just last month, a son of a Nigerian did a surgery using the robot to do a surgery. Nobody's talking about that.
It's true.
Nobody's talking about that. Why? Because we are not yet a country. That's why we're not talking about that. We are fighting the imperialist partners that are stable in Nigeria, called the Nigerian politicians. We are trying to sort and pull them out. While other Nigerian people that are out there, our sons and daughters, they are performing their best, and we cannot even look into that because we have to fight this fight and make sure we win and have a country. Because yet we don't have a country, my brother and sister. We can deceive ourselves. I've listened to the personality brought here. I listened. The history, yes, I agree with the history just told. I wasn't born then, but I have to look into the archive. They are telling exactly what I read. I am one of the students of history that read history in the secondary school. I bet every one of us read it. That is why we are glued to it. That is why we have knowledge about it. I read this book. If any one of you have read this book before, if you have read it, you've got to go and get it. A person, Mr. CM, Dr. CM, gave me this book. He brought it to my lifeline. And it is one of the voices of the imperialists that have spoken what the Nigeria it is. How they deceived the Nigerians. How he was even going to how they are regretting. And how a certain tribe came into the country. And yet people are running far from this book. This is the truth. This is an imperialist that wrote this book. And is telling us the facts about this book. And why are they coming together with the Fulani clan? The question, that's the question. Why are they coming together with them? Because they are conquest. The imperialists, they are conquest. The Fulani, they are conquest. Why are we not coming together? If any of you have read the extract from a citizen, from a noble brother, a Fulani brother that was schooled in the US, is going all around the internet now. He did not believe what they wrote here. He did not believe what the historians were talking. He now went back to Nigeria. He has stayed in the US for over 20 years. He went back to the north. He was trying to see if what they told him was wrong. And he went this way. He said, how could the north be so poor like this? Let me try as much as possible if I can introduce them to modern day facilities, because they can learn. Why do we have alemajiris all around the place? Then let me fuse technology. Let me open a school. Let me open a lot of schools for them so that they can go and learn, so that we can start, teaching them how they can build up themselves as a citizen of the name Nigeria. You know what? Okay. You know the word that they encounter. They said, if you bring the technology, where are we going to place our religion? Islam. He said, if you bring the technology, where are we going to put Islam? He said that was the biggest wall he ever met. The biggest wall. They wanted to revoke against him. But because he was a Fulani born, that was why they couldn't lynch him. But he stood the ground and he concluded that Nigeria will never be if the North are still in amalgamation with this enclave called Nigeria. He said, until the outside of the North take and heed to what the modern world is today and put their religion, make it personal, Nigeria will never see the light of the day. This is a man from the North, a Fulani extract saying it. It's on the internet.
Thank you so much. I appreciate your contribution.
Thank you.
And what he said is exactly true. CM, I'm coming to you. Okay, welcome, Mr. Benson, but let me come to CM first. And after CM, you will speak. CM.
How about me? Am I not here? Why are you jumping me? You want me to complain first?
Mr. Forefather, you're welcome.
Forefathers, they just arriving.
Don't do that now. You are a moderator and everything. I came here, you pretend as if you don't see me.
I will not have that, please.
Come on, man.
I will not have that. You have made your point, and I've seen.
Yeah, Forefather, are you angry because they called my name?
Specifically, yes.
My name was called Forefather.
Exactly, yes, especially.
Yeah.
Oga Bensi, good day.
Good day, my brother. How are you?
Bensi.
The man that you take bullet for Nigeria while the Boko Haram are killing people is still in Britain. Yeah, my brother. Boko Haram are killing people. He will take bullet for Nigeria, but Boko Haram are killing people in Nigeria. He's in Britain.
Hold on.
He will take bullets.
Right. I want to take 1 minute out, so I want to hear what Forefather will say, but I don't want to Forefather speak in my absence. So CM, can you go ahead? And I have a visitor at my front door. I want to show him something, and I'll call me back. So after that, Forefather can speak. Thank you, CM. Go ahead.
Well, what really was are we still we're still in Dr. Mo's review, is it? Oh no, nobody is talking. I think we're still in.
Said. You can
okay, yeah, okay, yes, what the prof said. Why I will sort of because he participated in the war, albeit his age he cannot be 30 years then, no. but he participated because sometimes there's what they call boys comping. Only I could have asked him the department where he acted, but being the eye from the eye of a child, he has seen a lot of things. The war is devastating. Coming back to say, is it avoidable? Every war is avoidable. Nigeria's own was clearly 1,000,000% avoidable because why did you go to Aburi? Why did you go to settle? You signed, you came back. Till today, Gowon has never addressed Nigeria on Aburi. Till today. When the radio broadcast, you refuse. You came back on the 6th or thereabout. 4th and 5th was 1967. On the 6th or thereabout, you came back to Nigeria. You said you had malaria. That malaria persisted until 27th May. Maybe 4 months later, you go and divide the 4 regions into 12 states. That is provocative now. That is provocation. And that is what the problem we are having today. You see, there are things that you can sort of close the chapter. Then all these things, now this week where people are talking about the war, everybody's now regretting it. I don't see anybody that is justifying it. Alabi Isiama, when I listened to him in one of the interviews, he was saying that they didn't even know why they fought this war. It wasn't explained today. He said, we are young men, then we just wanted to fight. Say, keep Nigeria warm. He said, look at the Nigeria we've kept warm. Alabi Isiama, he wrote a book, The On the Spot or something. Like he wrote these are people that fought and they regretted it. The other chap, Alani Akinreade, during the time of June 12th, before it was, he said, why did we even fight the war? If Abiola could win an election, we couldn't allow him to take over. All these there are a lot of things because this is the month we have to remember all these things. But the problem with Nigeria is that when you mention this, people feel that you can just go. You don't go. You don't. If a problem persists, you must address it. Otherwise, it's not. You are going nowhere. Why did we annul June 12th election? 30 years later, 32 years later, IBB came and said Abiola won the election. 32 years later, Sule Lamido is telling people when he launched his autobiography that Tinubu should find 45 billion and give to Abiola family to compensate them for their Abiola businesses. These are, I don't believe, I bring facts. These are what we had it nice in the news either 2 weeks ago. This month, Sule Lamido launched his autobiography. June 12th, Rimi said then, June 12th is dead and buried. The Yorubas should better move on. Everybody has moved on. The train will leave them behind. Bola Ige them laughed. Almost 30 years later, Buhari is still calling Abiola's son. What is the name? Kola Abiola to Aso Rock. We all saw it in there and gave him a medal. This is what your father should have been wearing. GCFR, posthumous. King Gibe, come and take your own. Then June 12th will be all this.
That was a monument. Now he's making him a statue that we should honor.
You see, because if you had then addressed it, IBB knew clearly Abiola won. The election result of June 12th that he published in his book, they were ready. We know all those things. Only Taraba that was left. So you see, the problem with Nigeria is that you don't just move on. When there's a human conflict, you sit down and address it. What will it cost Nigeria? You sit down, then you gain from it. Who knows why Rwanda, with all the genocide, is almost like #1 in Africa economically, so to speak. At least it's not the last. It's better than Nigeria economically doing well. Who knows why? South Africa, with all the appetite, they did Truth and Reconciliation Commission by Desmond Tutu. South Africa left Nigeria. You see, there are things, that's what they call in human relation. You don't just wish it away. And moreover, the scales of all those things are coming up. People that their foreparents participated in this thing, they weren't even there. They are not the people asking questions. A case in point is, look at the JAMB result that was released. Look at the way they handled JAMB this year. And people say that even at that. So there are things that, so many provocation, when people look at it from every angle. It's not that some people are complaining. You don't build a nation that way. Black Panther, what you said like a Fulani going to America, it's all, because there you could be told stories. He now came out and said, these are some of the things they were telling them, we are wrong. If not for election in 2023, somebody like Haruna Goro, he came here, was telling us, he said when they were growing up, this was the type of stories they were telling them. But they found out that it's not true. Is that how to build a nation? By infusing hate into young people. When they grow up, they start to manifest, and they will continue. Burkina Faso have left Nigeria behind. Somebody could believe it, I could be wrong, but they've left us and they are moving. That is where the eyes of the world or West African people are focused. Why? Nigeria, we still want to be talking as if we are in a 44 BC. Nothing is moving. We are still living a very primitive life because of wickedness and hate. Let us come together and design a country that will suit us. No way. We want everything. It has been settled. Constitution is there. Constitution. Nigeria has been amending constitution since 1999. Constitution amendment. The deputy senate president is permanent. The head of constitution amendment committee. Go and check. Ekweremadu was handling it. That was when I had it. Deputy senate president is always in charge of constitution. What are you amending? Because it wasn't original. It's not touched on us. Let us sit down and design the country we want. You see, all these things, that's why sometimes when you remember all these things, you ask yourself, you may not be spiritual or maybe religious. Why are we not moving forward? Because you've not addressed, people are disenchanted. You've not addressed all those issues. Look at the election we are doing. We can't even conduct the election. We can't even do an election that people will be happy. I don't want to take much of the time because this is quite very much it's out of tune. When one thing will lead to the other, it's like everything is interlinked. You move from here, you move from here. It's not bashing, but let we start today. Why can't Nigerians come together and say, now we want to move? How do we move? We solve this question of give ourselves a good constitution and then we move. Failing it, allow the person who want to live in a jet age to live. Those that want to live in stone age, they are free. You can't hold any man. You can't decide. When Burkina Faso was kicking France out, who could have believed it? They left ECOWAS. Yes. They don't want Burkina Faso. People that Nigeria used to help all around. Now look at the way can Nigeria assert itself in West Africa? No way. Not to talk of Africa. Gone were the days Nigeria was the champion of Africa. They call Nigeria the giant of Africa. Not because of mineral resources. No. It's because of the fact that Nigeria sent one power to every African country. Chief Justice of Botswana, Uganda, Tanzania, everywhere. Our foreign policy was to decolonize Mozambique, help Zimbabwe, help Angola, help the Southwest African People's Organization, Sam Nujoma, that is Namibia. Many things Nigeria did. Yes, WAPO, Nigeria, so many. People because we are doing the right this thing. All of a sudden, we now started to say, okay, let's bring federal character. That federal character killed a lot of. You can't get a good football team when you bring federal character. The football team can't work. It can never work. If they are doing football team based on where you come from, Barcelona can be what it is. AC Milan, they can be because they look for Taribo West plays for AC Milan. Ijoman. Very ugly. I'm so annoyed when I'm discussing.
If you're allowed, you go on forever.
It's true. Yes, let me stop here. Let another person take over. Thank you.
For us, we talk, but let me just ask a question. When we're talking about Nigerian people or Nigeria, is it not perhaps more correct to say our problem is that of really the corrupt political class that hold everybody to ransom? Because it's not really the Nigerian people who are responsible for the effect, is it? I think it has more to do with
can I answer that question?
Political leadership, the political class who have captured if like the Nigerian state. Perhaps we don't even have real Nigerians or the Nigerian nation, but this enclave, this state, which is an instrumentality of some foreign power, and then we are all held hostage. So I don't know. What do you think about that? So for us, you can go ahead. I'm just asking a question. Oh, Black Panther, if you think you wanna.
Yeah. Your can you hear me?
Yes.
Your question is very straightforward. You see, the political class are not basically our problem.
Okay.
Our problem is foundational. You see, when people overlook the word foundation,
But who is going to set that foundation? It's not the It's not an enlightened.
It is not the political class that will build the foundation. It is the people on that land that want to decide their destiny that will form that foundation. You don't leave the sovereignty of the people in the hands. When you want to lay foundation, you don't leave it in the hands of the politicians.
But Black Panther, if that coming together, that discussion, that if like conference is to take place, do you think it's all Nigerians? Not everybody is going to be at that table. There has to be.
That is why they said every ethnic group must be involved.
Yes, but
a representative must come from every ethnic group.
Who is going to organize it? Who is going to, put it in place? It can be all Nigerians.
Let me give you, for instance, what happened during GJ time. This very question you just asked now came up. They said, who is going to organize it? A lot of debate came from the North. The North were angry with GJ. Everybody was shouting. But there comes a time where he put his foot on the ground. He draw up a map that this is what he needs for the conference. And this is the budget for the conference. It takes one man to take that bold step to do it.
A member of the political class? A member of the
It's not the political class. It's not the political class. You are saying that, the political class you are trying to tell me that political class will be the majority. I guess that's where you are coming from.
They have to be alive to this responsibility. Okay, that's what I'm saying. But it has to be
the hands of what you're saying now lies in what you're saying now lies in the hands of the number one man. If he has a foresight and a vision, he can call for that sovereign national conference.
That's correct.
He can call for it. Then let every other part of the country to debate on it. That's all. It doesn't require any stress.
All right. Thank you so much for the forefather. Have you spoken?
No.
Okay. So sorry, I may not go in the normal way. Forefather has a lot to say, so let him get off what he has on his chest. Forefather, please go ahead.
Yeah, thank you for having me, KJ. I really appreciate your giving me my turn on time. This is the greetings to the panelists and the chat, and to the viewers. Tony, I'm sorry to hear some of the experiences you had to describe. I think whenever we are discussing societal issues, especially when it comes to tribal issues, in the context of Nigeria, we are, this week I was having a conversation with some South Sudanese. That it's all this thing that we do in countries, we focus too much on individual tribes, especially the bigger ones. In the case of South Sudan, if we think we have a problem, theirs is more acute. They are looking to even break the country up into 3 places. I was like, you guys are crazy. If you compare yourself to, if you look at what South Sudanese are going through in terms of tribal relationships versus Nigeria, we look like we are like Switzerland compared to them. The Dinka that make up 36% of the population completely dominate almost everything. Them and the 15% tribe, I think Nuer they call them. Maybe I'm mistaken the way I pronounced it. They constitute more than 80-90% of the ministerial positions and every other big positions in the country. The minority that make up over 48% of the population barely show up on the radar. And the country is so unstable because of it. This thing that we Africans do is so awful that we don't even understand the point of societies anymore. The point of society is
we are doing well. That's the summary. We are doing well.
No. I'm not saying we are not doing well. I think we are doing similar. We are making similar mistakes that they are making, but ours is on a lower scale. But it's there. No, it's there nonetheless. The problem is still there. We still have the same issues because every time we have this conversation, we don't even take other people into account. We forget that there are other groups in this country that actually govern the country, maybe even more. Like minorities have governed this country, showed up in so many parts of the country in terms of governance. And in terms of percentage, they make up the biggest group entirely. We do this thing that we don't seem to understand because we have an unhealthy ambition to dominate others. That's the truth of the situation. We have an unhealthy. Let me finish.
I have to challenge you. So, I first of all, you are belittling the degree of our malaise, and all these comparisons. I don't understand.
I'm not belittling anything. I'm actually describing it.
No, but see, look, we have a problem as a country, and trying to compare.
We have a problem as a country. Let me finish what I'm saying, then you find out. See, we have an innate need to dominate other groups. That is, maybe that's human nature. Maybe that's the tribal nature of things. But there is also another aspect to society that we also always have to consider when we are making these type of calculations. Stability. Because if you don't have stability in that system, the whole thing will come crashing and others that have better stability will take over. Like they've done it to us before, we know that. And I think we discuss these things on a level, you know how they say some people play 2D, some people play checkers while other people are playing chess. We play checkers. All we see is one level. We don't see the other level of things. That's why our systems are so unstable. Everything we put together is about, oh, let me get one past this one. We don't think about, okay, when we do this stuff, if I get my way, is the entire system going to be together? Because when the entire system crashes, you will fall inside it too. Because of your selfish need to win at the moment, you forget the bigger picture that you are going to lose greater than that. And that is the calculation everybody seems to be getting wrong. Because I see that in many countries in Africa. In South Sudan, it's a very clear one because they just broke up from another country. And the reason why they broke up from another country, somebody in that panel literally said that problem still remains. It's unbelievable. It's remarkable because when I was saying this thing earlier on in all these conversations, we thought it was a joke until literally I heard it from the horse's mouth from a country that broke away from another country. And the reason why they broke away from that country was Islamization, and it's still happening in the country that they broke into. Because you are not calculating it very well. You're not seeing the bigger picture. If you miss the bigger picture, you will keep suffering. It doesn't mean you should give up on your own people. As a matter of fact, it actually means you are doing well for your own people. Or Igbo people that are doing all this things now in the UK that we live in, you think they are not tribal? They are tribal too. Very, very tribal for that matter. This country is governed from the south. CM is sitting right there. Ask him. How many prime ministers have come from the north? Ask him. How is it that they are still able to function like this? We have to find a way so that we take everybody's view into account. Because when you take everybody's view into account, no matter how small they are, you take their views into account.
Mr. Propada,
you are
can I ask you a question?
A stable system. Go ahead.
Yeah.
No, let him finish. Sorry, don't prolong.
Okay.
So you have to take everybody's view into account, because when you take their view into account, and you are likely to get a more stable system. If you look at how the Swiss did it, they have a presidential council for that reason, because they know they are crazy too. They are tribal. So you have to have a way where you take everybody's view into account and make decisions based on that. That is the whole point of society. We are saying that every individual that has capability should just dominate. There's no point for society. Then anybody can just be, I'm very intelligent, I'm very strong, I should control everything. No, society is a contract that says, okay, I might not be very strong as a military man, but I'm very strong in terms of technology, in terms of religion. So we all come together as a contract to support each other on the areas we are weakest at. That is how society works. You have to understand that, okay, these people are not very strong in this area. These other people are not. It doesn't mean you should dismiss their views. Just because they are small, it doesn't mean you should dismiss their views. Everybody has to be represented. This thing that we do, we say, Hausa, Yoruba.
Who are we? Who are we? Who are the we?
This conversation, I've had it many times.
Who are the we?
Hausa, Yoruba, Igbo. I see that's the only people that are in the country. It's a smaller representation of what is happening in South Sudan.
All right.
It's not as acute as South Sudan, but it's a smaller representation of what's happening in South Sudan.
Thank you so much. I'll give other people an opportunity to ask you a question. Yes,
I've not even finished my submission.
No, hold on now. You
okay, you want to ask question? Okay, fine.
Thank you, KJ, and thank you, Forefather. Forefather, you made mention of you were trying to describe Sudan and just to pose this, do a comparison of Sudan with Nigeria. But don't you think that the Sudanese part of the problem was more of dominance from one part, and there was no imperialist supporting that dominant factor that is trying to dominate the lesser people over there? Because when you are trying to make a comparison with Nigeria, Nigeria has a tribe that is dominating, and the difference there is that this tribe that is dominating is being supported by the imperialists to put more pressure and actualizing the goals of the imperialists. So don't you think it's a different ball game entirely when you are just opposing and comparing it with the state of Nigeria as it is?
All right, thank you. So let him answer.
I think for me, I'm looking at it from the point of view of us now, because the imperialists or the British or Americans, they only have capacity to do what they are doing because we are already divided ourselves, and we are often weak. Our division is also making us weaker. What I saw in South Sudan is similar to what is in Nigeria, but theirs is more acute. So we play this game where we act as if it's only a few people in the Nigeria, only 3 groups in Nigeria: Hausa, Yoruba, Igbo. The UK has the same dynamics, but what they did was, okay, we have all this group, but all of them have their own say in the way things work. There are certain areas they don't have total control, like security. When the nation wants to make a decision on the national security, they don't have individual control. It's the central body, that, like the parliament, that has power over that. But they do have their say. This idea that it's only England, or it's only Scotland, it's only Ireland, or in other countries like Switzerland, it's only the Belgian part, it's only the German part. No, everybody has to have a say. If you want a stable system, because it has to have a balance. If you don't have a balance, you have unstable system, and you are more like you are susceptible to foreigners coming in and saying, okay, you have been oppressed there, you go and do this. And
all right, one more question for you. Yes, go ahead.
Don't you think if I mean, when we are discussing Nigeria, it's not necessarily that any group is ignored or neglected, but the fact that from the onset, Nigeria was kind of set up as as a tripod, the north, southeast, southeast, southwest, okay, and these 3 regions each has a major, at least in population wise, you can't deny the fact, predominating, right? So, and therefore these 3 major groups representing the 3 regions, I just for the ease of analysis, there's no way you can ignore them in trying to understand what is going on in Nigeria, and also in trying to solve the problem. So, of course, all the other groups, they count. They're important. Nobody's saying that they're not part of the equation. But look, there's nothing solving the Nigerian problem. There's no way you can ignore the role the Yoruba and the Igbo and the Asaflani are going to play in that. It's just a matter of it's a reality.
All right.
Don't you agree? I mean,
Oti, please, the answer, simple answer to whatever diversity is that why can't we come together and fashion a constitution that will suit us? Simple. That will solve all this problem.
Yeah, that's the question
because that is where all these things will be thrashed out. The way we want, we are not copy. We won't copy any country. We do it our way.
Sure,
Hold
sure.
on, yeah. Hold on,
Sure.
CM. Hold on.
It is simple.
Forefather have presented a very interesting this, and that question goes to him. What is wrong with Nigerians sitting down, each tribe, each person, each tribe being represented, and fashioning out a system, a constitution that will work for us, since we are saying that what we have is not working? What is wrong with that? Because other countries that you have mentioned, all of them are accepted by the rule that the governing paper with their constitution, they all accepted it. So what is wrong in Nigeria fashioning out a constitution that will suit everybody, every one tribe, no matter how little they are, even if there are 50 of them, their interest being taken into consideration and their interests represented? What is wrong with that?
I think the question for me, I think based on what we have now, you can argue that a constitutional conference can solve it, or an amendment of the constitution can solve it. In the case of Nigeria particularly, I don't know, I'm very, very concerned, uneasy about saying that some of our elders try to get some things right. At least you see that they try to move in that direction in terms of ensuring that every state has a minister, all those sort of things. And because when you look at South Sudan, you start seeing, oh my God, Nigerian elders saw something and they put some things in place to prevent this from happening. So that teaches you something.
Is it working for Nigeria? What our elders did?
It's not perfect for Nigeria, that's for sure. We all know that. It's not working very well for Nigeria. It's not getting us where we truly need to go in terms of actually being free from foreign this in their control. However, we can say that Nigeria, particularly in its constitution, maybe more than many in the world, made an effort to try to make sure other different peoples are taken into account in the governance.
It's not true.
With which law? With which law? With which law?
With the law that you have to choose ministers from.
Who gave you the law now? Who gave you that law?
Let me finish my point. That even in Nigerian military,
we can't get it this way. Allow him make his point.
Even in Nigerian military, was complaining the other day that Southeasterners were not coming to join.
Oh, really? Military?
Complaining. Yeah, hold on now, calm down. Why do you think they were complaining? Because the constitution requires them to do that. That is not something many nations bother to put in place. I'm not even sure America does that. America, anybody that wants to join, joins. If you don't want to join, you hang around. It's up to you. But Nigeria, our elders tried to put that in place to make sure everybody is part of the system, because they want to integrate the system together. However, there are areas you can argue that it's very, very problematic. Like, you can be born in Lagos, you grow up in Lagos, you even marry in Lagos and do everything in Lagos. But if you want to vote, you may have to go to where your father is from in Nigeria. That is a problem. We have to find a way to start changing these dynamics. And I believe that we can also take the voice of other people into account. I think the Nigeria of today is the Nigeria of Wazobia. That's a problem.
All right.
Thank you. Reality shouldn't be.
I will allow you to land there. Thank you so much. Benson.
Yes, sir.
Welcome to you, information welfare. I will come to you, but Benson, let's hear your take so far.
Thank you, Dr. KJ, Black Panther, long time Black Panther. CM, Dr. Oti, Chief Tony, the man who loves Nigeria so much, the forefathers, who will take bullet for Nigeria, forefathers, and information, all Napolitis, all protocols observed. You see, I don't want to talk about the war that was fought many years ago, because that war, when we are talking it, when we are remembering it, it remembers many things to us, But the thing is that war is still going on. The war that stopped was the one for the gun, but not the real war. The real war is still going on. Because if we see the recent happenings now in Nigeria, when the election was conducted in 2023, the way they switched the beaver, this what they call it, this is that the WAEC or the jump, the same thing. So the war is still going on. The appointments in every ministry, the war is still going on. I don't know how many Easterners are in this in the public service today. I don't know. But one thing Nigerians are not, one thing they're not doing is this. remembering is this: when people say they don't want to give Igbo because they suspect Igbo, and they're not suspecting Igbo. The only thing is this: they know that when Igbo man is not all that corrupt like them, Igbo man, people who are more sincere than all of them, all these tribes that are making all this nonsense, the Igbos are more sincere than most of them. When the Igbos were in the army, when the Igbos were heading the military, you see how before the war, how many generals we have that time? We have competent generals, and they were few. But today, how many generals we see? Useless generals who didn't go to war, who don't know anything, not political generals. That's what you are seeing today in the Nigerian distinct. During the time the Igbos were in some having good appointments in Nigeria, you see how the country was moving. But they know that, and then when you see those who have been stealing the money of Nigeria, you can see from beginning down, it's less than Yorubas and the Fulanis and the Hausas. That the one that has all the billionaires you see there are billionaires that stole Nigerian money. But when you see from beginning down, you see that those are the people who work hard for their money. So that is why they don't want Igbo man to go near all these places. Because they know that Igbos are not all that corrupt like they are. And when people are talking about this Nigeria, people who love Nigeria, even today I'm ashamed of myself to call myself a Nigerian or an Igbo man. Because look at what is happening now. Tinubu is trying, Tinubu and Buhari are keeping Nnamdi Kanu in jail because Nnamdi Kanu say divide the country. But who is more divisive than these two people? Buhari came in and they put his brothers, all the Nigerian money that are coming from South and Southeast, he's taking to develop Nasarawa and the Katsina and all the rest. Tinubu coming now. Tinubu is taking the money of Nigeria, developing Lagos. Now they say they want to drain more that Lagos seaport. And people are asking, what of other seaports? Who love Nigeria now? If that Tinubu love Nigeria, will Tinubu be putting mostly Yorubas into the government? And you know that they cannot be, they are not competent people. Instead of putting people from all that different regions that can help Nigeria to grow, he's only putting Yorubas and some Fulanis. So if we love Nigeria, how will he be doing such a thing? And the man who said divide to avoid the problem is the one being tried. Buhari and Tinubu supposed to be tried because they say they hate Nigeria more than any other people. You see, so when people are talking about this Nigeria issue and so on and so forth, it's very unfortunate. Because if we talk from here till tomorrow till 1 million years, with the kind of nepotism, the kind of injustice, the kind of tribalism in Nigeria, Nigeria can never move forward. Even if you like, whatever you do, Nigeria cannot move forward. Because the injustice in Nigeria is too much. Even the Nigerian people, I'm like, for me, for the Southerners, I think for me, they are more stupid. Because in Nigeria today, Hausa man will kill, Fulanis will kill. No, you can't see an Hausa man being tried. But in the east, on the south, in the southeast or southwest, anybody or south, anybody that does one small thing, he's been tried or he will be killed. But the Fulanis are killing, doing everything. Today, how many people are killing Taraba? I think 50 people are. How many people are killing Taraba today? The same people are killing. The same people are doing nonsense in Nigeria, but they are not being tried. Nobody holds them accountable. If you don't hold a section of a country accountable and all this nonsense and they are committing atrocities every day, and you believe that the country can move forward, people always blame Britain, blame America, blame NH. I don't blame them so much because the problem we have is this: the greed. We have the black man or this. We have too much greed in ourselves. Because I look at Malaysia, I look at Singapore, I look at South Africa, I look at Namibia, I look at Botswana. These people are also colonized. Why their own is not like our own? In Namibia, about 2 years ago or 3 years ago, the Minister of Fisheries, the Minister of the Attorney General, and about two other ministers, and Attorney General, and other about 3 or 4 ministers, they went into a fraud. They made a scam, a fraud. Today, those people are still in jail. They are arrested and put in jail. But in Nigeria, all the whole people that commit crime, all the ministers, all of them that commit crime, nobody is arrested, nobody is being tried. So how do you think that that country can move forward when these people do everything they do? Nobody hold them accountable. But you want to say, hey, Britain is doing this, Britain is doing that, Britain is the hands of what is happening in Nigeria is. But if that Nigeria love themselves, if Nigerians know what they are doing, that no, we want to be the country, we're supposed to have a constitution that will work for us. But that constitution will never happen because the Fulanis are enjoying more without that. If we change the constitution, they will never enjoy anything. So they will do everything possible so that the constitution can never be changed. So if the constitution is not changed, if we don't have a good constitution, the other day, Ijaw people, the Ijaw youth came out and said, Nigeria don't have a constitution. Everybody knows Nigeria don't have a constitution. So if the constitution is not changed, how can the country move forward? It's very shameful today in Nigeria that somebody like Wike and Tinubu is holding people of River State to ransom. Wike have said, come and beg me. As if that King Wike, useless idiot like that, is the owner of the country. As if he's anything in Nigeria. Who is Wike? Where did Wike come from? Who was Wike before? Who was Aburi? All these things, you know, when people are talking about Nigeria, want Nigeria to move forward. How Nigeria is going to move forward when we don't tackle all these things? A country has become psychophancy. People, many of the majority of the people today are psychophants. In a country where a drug dealer is in charge, and that drug dealer, people who will think that have integrity, people who will think that they are human beings, are running to that man, running to his party. We know that that party have destroyed Nigeria entirely. That party, but instead of them, people to hold themselves and say, we are men, we are human beings,
Mr. Benson,
we have balls, but instead they are destroying the country more.
Thank you so much. If we leave you, we will not be able to make any comment because I think you have more than enough to give, and I thank you for all your comment. I will not allow, you have raised pertinent questions, but we'll not dive into that. Maybe we'll create another day because there's so many things to follow really in the Nigerian news cycle. But let's just reduce ourselves to what we have discussed, and the time we have put for this week is to deal with the Biafran issue and the Biafra question. And the real deal is, if we fought a war for 3 years and many lives were lost, over 5 million or about 5 million or whatever the figure may be, even if it's just 100, that's a lot of people. Are we done anything to change or address those issues that hitherto led us to the place of that conflict? And I'm coming to Ovia, I think I'm correct, right? Yes. Is the Nigerian system, have we been able to craft something that will give everybody a sense of belonging? Because if it were, I don't know if your Ovia is married, but if you are married and you are having an issue with your wife, you don't wish it away. You don't say, you either follow me or, you sit down to have a conversation. Why is it difficult to have a conversation in Nigeria when people are totally disillusioned with the situation they find themselves? Why is it difficult to have a conversation?
Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum salam, alhamdulillah.
Man alaikum salam.
Alhamdulillah.
I was on where you asked me jam question, so two things go up. Whether I go fail again or the result no go come out.
You go pass.
Why is it difficult for us to sit and have a conversation? I don't think that is true. I mean, aren't we having a conversation? We are all true representation of Nigeria, right?
Okay. All right.
But I think, to me, if I want to take what I'm hearing so far into consideration, I think we either don't understand our problem or we are in denial. Because conversation we are having, on this platform, let me narrow it to this platform. I think if I say, to a large extent here, we've agreed that
just external influence in our affairs. We agree that the Constitution is not up to par. The Constitution that came after we have our civil war, and the winners and the losers was very clear from that Constitution. So instead of saying we are not, why is it difficult for us to have a conversation? You should ask, what kind of conversation are we having? Right? Because if there's one thing, one common thing Peter Obi and two Nigeria have in common is they quit to you, they agree on all these things that I just put before us. That is our problem, at the core of our problem. But at the same time, they say, oh, something is wrong with us. We cannot get our activity together. No ways are doing it. Belgians are doing it. These people are doing it. These people are doing it. Then again, I'll ask myself, I mean, is something wrong with me? Because if we argue this is the problem, and we never take care of the problem, then we jump to accuse ourselves that we cannot bring solutions. So at times I don't know. I'm confused when I hear us have a conversation talking about, because so I did confused. Our problem we know, but from nowhere we want solution without actually taking care of the problem. On this platform, we agree that the Southeast, their business acumen is above every other section in that country. We still agree on this platform, say the North, their educational and business acumen is not up to par. But we have nothing less than 7 billionaires.
But what about their physics acumen and their chemistry acumen? No, what I'm saying, don't limit it to traders or something. In every acumen,
I am going somewhere. There's a reason you don't even know where I'm going. Just let me finish.
No,
right?
It's okay. I'm listening. I just want you to cover everything. If you say Igbos are traders, what about physics? What about chemistry? What about geography? Do you have any? Could you hold a candle before
if you
them?
allow him to end, if you allow him to land, you get to that.
You see the KJ. You see the problem. We do have conversation. It's never having a conversation is never an issue for Nigerians. Even if you bring Aboki, we know they speak English. You bring Yoruba man, we know they speak English. Then we have a conversation. That's why they are Nigerians. But what are we having? I am just setting an example. If we say make they mention what the positive of this and the negative of this side, it will take my life years. I'm not going to finish them. That's not where I'm going with it. I'm measuring the key ingredient of what that produce riches in terms of dollar amount. These key things are there just like maths and English in our egg. Right? You have to be actually smart and be business, your business acumen for you to actually achieve a success in a normal way. How come we have 5 billionaires in the North and no billionaires at all in the South? And again, if nobody can see that there is a problem there, then calling for result over now, we should be like Norway, we should be like Greece, we should like, it's just, it's what is that? Who are we? At the core of our problem, again, is to Nigeria. Nobody knows where he's from. There is a reason why he's not telling anybody, because of the situation of the country. But again, we want solution. How is he going to come? So we are deceiving ourselves. Because all these problems, when I mention, we all agree. But we have never said, let's tackle them one at a time. Before we say, oh, why are we not growing? We cannot. Right. The biggest insecurity we have in Nigeria is at the core of that. If to say I did here for us, our guests, Going to Aburi, what did the Ojuku-led team want, and what did they get? The Gowan going to Aburi, what did they want?
When it
What
was
did they
going
get?
on, like Ovie is going on now, Muta.
You are not the moderator, my brother. You took 2 minutes out of my time. Which one?
Sorry, I gave him Pastor. I gave him time. You will get your own time.
When is it your time talk? I mean, wow. This is the problem right there. All right, we do communicate. None of us is deaf and dumb. But what are we talking about?
That question you asked was answered by the man. You know what they went to Aburi and what came out of Aburi. Unfortunately, one side refused to accept what came out of Aburi. That's let me say one side. The federal government refused to accept what came out of Aburi, and they did not reschedule. However, the man is going to be here on Friday, which is our final day of the Biafra memorial. We can also put that question across to him and get more visible. He is quite grounded in, because he's not only a historian, a writer, but he's also a participant in the war. So he took part in major places. He fought to the end. So he has a first-hand information, as we will say. All right, thank you, Ovie.
So our problem is not individually systematic. It's embedded in
Dr. KJ.
I rest my case.
Dr. KJ. Just a second, please.
You have a question?
No, yeah. You see, and I want to add something to what these guys, what they call it, information welfare said. You see, that constitution that you're talking about that it can't be changed, or they don't want to talk about it, is because of this issue of, he said, how is it possible that those who know business, those who are business minded, those who are the business acumen, they have only no billionaire coming from that side, but those who don't know business, who doesn't know anything about business, are the billionaires in Nigeria. That is why that discussion about the constitution, discussion of how Nigeria can move, it can never happen.
Again,
because they know that if there's a discussion, they will lose it.
Yes, I said.
Oga KG, just 10 seconds. 10 seconds.
We can't discuss everything. Let's just limit ourselves to what we are dealing with, which is the outfall of the war, whether we have been able to advance from that, or whether we are slipping back into the same thing that led us to where we are. That's exactly what we're trying to. If we decide to expand the discussion, we'll not be able to have a point of convergence, which is what I'm trying to stop. Okay. Who wants to a 10 second?
Yeah, Oga KG. Yeah, I think what we are discussing here is an advancement of the war happened, the civil war, and where it has led us to. Now, where it has led us to is what we are discussing now, because we cannot dodge away from it. And Oga Ovie, the statistics you are given, I think PAMSAT is right. You are not giving the actual statistics of to make the discussion broad.
One or two examples.
No. Your example is very biased. You see, you are saying there's no billionaires in the South. There are a lot of billionaires in the South.
In the public, in the official public.
In the South.
Okay.
Oh, who?
I said this earlier. That's why.
Officially on the public, who is the billionaire from the Southeast? Please let me know. I don't know.
It's not about that's not our issue for today. Let's go to Panther. No. Don't go there. Don't go there, Black Panther. You're taking us away. Mr. Oh no. Fansa and I said
it's me. It's me. I like to hear from Stay Humble. That's true.
Okay.
I agree with you 100%, but I still have to take my turn when it's my turn. So let me say hello. Let me say hello to everybody. KJ, the moderator here, Forefathers, the second moderator, and my brothers Tony Oti, Information Warfare, Ovie, my brother Benson Emmanuel, and special welcome to Black Panther, who speaks the truth all the time. Everybody here speaks the truth, but Black Panther speaks the truth no matter what platform he's at. That's the difference, right? He's usually stationed at Niger Watch, and you know, even though if it's our brother is a very straightforward person, it's not easy to speak the truth over there. I don't know who's tried it. I've been there, and Dr. CM, who's anthropologist, historian, even though he's a scientist by trade, he knows everything about Africa. And then, of course, my brother Stay Humble, who is very smart. Those that we're proud of that are coming up, our younger people here. And of course, Ovie, who's ubiquitous and does his best as well. But let me go by saying that, first of all, by raise of hand, when you look back at that Nigerian-Biafran war, those who were Nigerians or whose family were Nigerians, please raise your hand so I can know. Who were on the Nigerian side by birth?
Forefather.
Could you raise your hand, please? Let me just take. I'm gonna ask for the Biafran ones after that. It's binary. It's either you're Nigerian or you're Biafran. Let me ask them: who were Biafrans in that conflict?
Forefather is the fear.
Who were on the Biafran side in the conflict?
No, but forefather was not born that time. Forefather has not been born that time.
Okay, I'm talking about their family. You know how you reflect. Those who are Biafrans know themselves. Those who are Nigerians know themselves. But you see, that's the problem. You won't identify yourself. Even Dr. CM didn't raise his hand.
No, okay, you should know that. You know that.
No, but the watchers don't know. KJ, were you a Biafran during the war?
CM is from Asaba.
You are trying to divert again.
No, you know.
Your points.
No, listen to me. This is the problem we have. The leadership is. Hold on, you're a leader here. Listen to me, KJ. Interrupt me as less as you can, please. I wouldn't say anything here that's not true. That is one thing you have to know about me. But we have to call a spade a spade. If you're a leader, if you're here, you have to go for the truth. There is all of us pretty much want the same thing. Like I was admonishing forefathers yesterday. You want Africans to have prestige when they come to the Oval Office, like Ramaphosa of South Africa. You have to do things solidly to where you have some prestige. For example, you have to have democracy. You have to have truth, triumphant falsehood. You have to develop. You have to, not talking about population, you have to have the ones that you have here should have a longer life. They should have jobs. You got to do things the right way. There's no shortcut to it. Now, you were asked a very important question here. I don't know who posed that question to you. Somebody asked you a question and you diverted. You didn't want to answer it. So now I have my own question for you. You said that Wazobia is a problem. I'm going to give you an analogy. Let's say Einstein. Einstein is a world-renowned physicist, right? He's a Jewish background German guy that revolutionized the physics with his theory of relativity and made contributions in quantum mechanics, right? Who are the minority Einsteins we have in our country? Let's say the problem in your diagnosis is the Hausa, Fulani, Igbos, Yorubas. Tell me the saints, the Einsteins from the minority groups in Nigeria, the Democrats, people who've done us proud, who are doing the right thing in the past or now. Forefathers, that's a question for you. You could answer with a noun or so. Do we have Einsteins from the minority groups?
We do have intelligent people from all groups. I don't know what you are saying.
Okay, all right. Well, anyway, I'm not trying to make it. It's not a joke. I'm trying to say that
I am one.
The problem we have in the country, as a matter of fact, au contraire, the problem are the minorities. They caused the war. Now, when I come here, I talk about it. Igbos like KJ, Dr. CM, even Dr. Oti, they're embarrassed. If you're running a computer language and it's binary, it's either 0 or 1. You cannot go trying to bring 2 and 5 to be fed to those numbers. You have to. It's binary. We have to tackle our minority issues because that's the problem we have. They caused the war. People went to Aburi, they made a deal, they come back. Some of them, like forefathers here, they don't want to be under an influence of an area. For example, the Southeast. So those people in the South, they I don't know what the hell they're doing. They stay there, the Fulanis come there and take the oil. and use it to menace us. Now, I wouldn't be talking about it if it doesn't affect me. I'm sorry, it's your business. But you have people who are in the desert. There are people who are outside of Nigeria normally take a bath with camel dung. They have nothing to do. They're not going to school. They're not doing anything.
Okay, I was trying to hold my peace, but you are going away from my topic.
No, I'm not going away from your. I'm not going away from your
the
topic.
Is, have we learned anything?
That's what I'm telling you. I'm telling you that you have not learned anything. But don't interrupt me, KJ, please. I'm not gonna have your opinion. I'm going away from your opinion, but I'm not going away from the topic. So hold your peace. Let me land, because I'm up there. That's true. If I don't land, then it won't make any sense. What I'm saying is that coming all the way from outside of Nigeria to take the resources from the south is the bane. That's our problem. That's what caused the war. That's what causes the war in Congo and all those places, the resources and the land. So if the Southerners stay there and let them come and take those resources, then they have resources to deal with the rest of Nigerians who wants to bring the country and the continent up, because they don't have the sufficient numbers to stop those people from coming to take those resources. So normally what happened in every country, it's not a unique thing to Nigeria, in Congo and other places, they would raise up the criminals in those areas, right? Break them off some money, like Wike, Tompolo, people like that. Those would then let them come and take the resources. That's what's happening there. It's a phenomenon that's universal. A lot of people go through that and still going through that, Congo and others, South Africa, with their diamonds. So, but that's neither here nor there. Let me say that I need to be organized here. Let me ask for more time so I could make my points more cogent and clear up, because this is a very important topic, right?
All right.
Let me say that now. When I'm berating,
can we now move to stay humble while you try to organize yourself?
No. Let me land, and there you go to them. Let me say to you guys, I take no delight in causing division when I have to tell the truth. That's true. There are better ways to say it so that we could get along, because the timing of this discussion is circumstance anyway. It's not the right time to talk about this. We have a lot of pressing issues, but if we want to talk about this, we have to be honest about it. You're making me do it, in other words. Right. So I even on this platform, you have people who are untruthful, mendacious, right? Deceitful people here on this platform. They come to so that we could just be juggle and talk and laugh. And then they also want to be academic and try to make input here. So if we're going to discuss this kind of stuff, maybe we should leave it till after the election or something. Let's try to recover the country, and we won't be divisive.
Okay, at this point, I need to stop you. I'm moving forward.
Okay, well, if you are a typical Nigerian, if you don't show that kind of if you don't use an authority to make your point, instead of standing on the facts, unless you insult me like you did my brother Benson. Notice what you're gonna be doing. Every Igbo person that speak here, you wanna cut them off at some point with disrespect while you're begging Ovie to let you go on. You cut off Benson, you're gonna cut me off. You're gonna do the same thing to see him. Why? Because you want the Yorubas and the Hausas to think that you're fair. It's not something that we don't notice. We notice it. We don't have any shake, even in our own country, because of the kind of leaders that we have. Like you here, you're a leader here, but you want to disrespect us. I'm here talking. What else are you going to be listening to?
Okay.
Right? If you cut me off, what are you going to be listening to?
Thank you so much. I will listen to other panelists who are also here before you.
All right.
If they were not here, they will probably not have any panel, any panelists. So they are important as you are important.
Pastor, my turn by turn. No worry, we'll come back to your turn.
No problem. Thank you.
Black Panther, please give me a while.
Don't forget that now we run the country, we minority. So respect us.
Let's move on. Please, let's move on. Yes, CM, we are going to come to you before all this, started, and so we'll be happy to take your view. Right? Oh no, sorry, I say humble. Sorry. I say humble. Yeah, make your this because I don't even have any question to ask you now. I'm sure you have followed the discussion. Just make your input.
Yeah. Thank you very much, and good evening, everyone. Yeah, it's another opportunity to come together to rub minds and to learn from one another. I missed today's program. I didn't even catch um any jot or modicum of the guest presentation. Yeah, but I think I may watch it at a later date. Yeah, well, the question is still about Biafra, which is
Yes.
the problem Nigeria is here to solve. It's good that we are discussing the Biafra question because when I was growing up in Eastern Nigeria as a kid, um, Biafra was seen as a taboo. People didn't want to mention it. Then the Igbos were still the victims, till around 2010, 2011, when things changed and the tables turned. And I think it started with Jonathan coming to power. Jonathan coming to power in Nigeria was a watershed in our history, whether you believe it or not. And that also coincided with the internet boom. The internet boom was, gave um, um, a lot of Nigerians that power, that the establishment had, and also the colonialists as well. So people were able to control the narrative, from their own um, side, which is really important because today you discover that people are able to have their say without resorting to the machinations of the main media who are controlled by the establishment. The solving the Biafran question, in summary, is very easy. It's just that Nigeria has a business venture of the British. They're yet to tell themselves the truth. Solving the Biafran question, just coming together to talk about Nigeria, talk about the coexistence that we have, and asking ourselves, the critical questions about how we want to live and how we want to coexist. I think that will go a long way in solving this problem. And I was listening, when someone was trying to compare Nigeria with Botswana or Namibia. Come on, you don't even know your geography. Look at those countries. How could you compare Namibia and Botswana with Nigeria? The way the British, yeah, they colonized West Africa is different from how they colonized Southern Africa. If you've not read your history, go and read it. So you can't compare those deserts with Nigeria. West Africa is very heterogeneous. There are so many nations in West Africa. You can compare them. In Southern Africa, they have a number of tribes, but they are all related. They are all phenotypically same. You understand? That's not the case with West Africa. There are very many nations in West Africa, and the way the British colonized West Africa is different. And the resources in West Africa, if you're even talking about human resources, different from Southern Africa. So you have to grasp those basics, before you make those comparisons. And yeah, the question still there, why was the the war fought? It was just about the resources. The British still wanted to be in control of the minerals in southern Nigeria, and they are still in control up to today. And that's why you see some people gather. They say, oh, they are forming a coalition. You see a lot of people there, the North, And then Peter Obi is there telling them how he will use the North to develop. They don't care, the North being poor is their benefits, yeah, I think there's an Igbo adage that says that so, that the North is poor is that, they don't want the North to get out of the poverty that they are in because they benefit from the poverty until they come together to ask themselves, those very crucial questions, where they want to be and where they are going. Peter Obi does not even need to preach to that. I think he's preached enough, really. What is he even telling them that they don't know about their region, about how Nigeria will move forward? Yeah, so it's left for them, to advise themselves and make the right choices. All right, and thank you very much.
Mark, make I take the remaining. He don't finish now, KJ.
Okay, I am wondering what happened because
You are not used to a gentleman speak.
All right.
That's why you used to Agbero like us. I know when we stop.
Okay, thank you so
Mr.
much.
Mr. KJ, please let me answer this. Let me correct this guy about this issue of Namibia or how the comparison.
I bet wait for your time. I may use that and do the
No. He
correction.
said he was talking about me. About you understand?
Hold
you
on.
see,
He no correct you now. He using time to correct you. So wait for your time for you to respond.
People read nonsense in their geography reading nonsense.
Hold on,
You better go to that country and see how the country is operating. A country is about corrupt. If the country is too corrupt, they can't move forward. It's not about nonsense.
Hold on now. He used his time to talk. You also use your own time. Chim, please, you are welcome. Let's hear your own listen. You have been gone for a while, so the topic has been, why can't we fashion a new constitution that can bring us the desired progress that we need in Nigeria? Why is it so difficult? Why are they afraid of sitting together? And Ovie answered partly because, part of that question. But the real thing is, and the real deal, which is this. If we say we are a nation and that we have come together not by force, and a certain part of the nation says that they are no longer being comfortable in it, is it by cohesion that we should keep them there and not even bring them into the national fold? Or let me rephrase it. Since we are dealing with the Biafra question this week, we ask a question: are the Igbos slaves? Because it's only a slave that is involved in a business or in a household that doesn't have a say. And if we are not slaves, why are our views not taken into account? And if we are slaves, who have made us slaves? And are we supposed to continue in that direction that we are in? I say this with a lot of examples, but I'm sure you don't want me to go to making those examples if you understand what I mean.
Okay, so KJ, when you say what is stopping us from designing a new constitution or instrument for
governance, yeah, that will be all encompassing.
Yes, and then you couch it further by saying the Igbos are not being allowed to have a say in a land that they're supposed to be part and parcel of. First and foremost, the Igbos are not being, I'm going to say what is controversial. The Igbos are not being denied from being part of a nation that's part and parcel of theirs.
But if you say that, I will say to you,
let me finish now.
Hold on. Just 2 days ago, in the National Assembly, they passed a budget for development.
If you allow me finish, you will hear where I'm going.
All right. Sorry, I'm sorry. Okay. Go ahead.
So the thing is, the budget that they have been passing, where they have been keeping the Igbos out of it, all those budgets that they have passed, how much has the guy in the north really benefited? How much has the guy from?
Go ahead.
Okay, so how much of that budget has the guy from the north benefited? We've been talking about how to bring the northerners in so that because at the end of the day, when you talk about poverty level, what dilutes Nigeria's progress in terms of pulling people out of poverty is the North. What dilutes Nigeria's I see statistics on the internet about education and nations that have good proportional number of people who are well educated and well read is the North at the end of the day. Those are the numbers that always constantly pull the country backwards. But guess what? If you go and look at those who have been Minister of Education, Minister of Health, Minister of Petroleum, who have led the country as head of state or president, we have more of them from the North. So when I'm saying this, I know what I'm saying when I say the Southeast is not big. I'm not saying the East, in terms of technical marginalization is not being marginalized. No, that's not what I'm saying. What I'm simply saying is this. We're speaking too much what the Nigerian would refer to as Turenchi. We just speak Turenchi all the time, and we're not doing anything. Why is it difficult to have a census figure? What's so big in running a census, in registering every birth, every woman who gives birth at the hospital, you register that birth? Why is it difficult to accomplish this in Nigeria? Tell me why. Why is that a big deal? But is this not what is happening, irrespective of who is in office? We wanted to run, the last time we ran a census was under Obasanjo's in 2003. That census figure was contested.
Good night, everyone.
State under Bola Ahmed Tinubu as governor contested that Kanu was more populous than Lagos. I lived in Lagos when this happened. I'm not saying he refused to accept those figures that Kanu was more populous than Lagos, and I agree with him, because guess what? New York not one of the most populous places in the world? Why is it? Because people move towards the ocean, and when people move towards the ocean, you find out that in those places you have more people. But guess what? In Nigeria's own case, the reverse is the case. All the desert places have more people. How is that possible? So, who is stopping Nigeria from deciding? You heard what Dr. Mo, I've been screaming this here. We have a seaport in Lagos. You have access to sea in Calabar. You have access to sea in Akwa Ibom. You have access to sea in Warri. You have access to sea in Estravos. And I can mention more places. But it is only Lagos that every item must come through. And then tomorrow they'll tell me Lagos-Apapa Expressway is blocked. Who is blocking it? Are these not very basic things that tell you that there's something wrong with our brain? You said you wanted to do a census. You set up a committee to do that. And you had the majority of the people in that committee come from a section of Nigeria. Did we not all see it? So if those basic little administrative issues, you're unable to be very open-minded in the way you sort those things out, is it going to couch a constitution that you will sit down and be able to do? So I think, this whole merry-go-round we keep doing does not solve any problem. I just basically think we know the answers. We have chosen not to solve it. I will end with this, where I live. I was watching a video about Indian election. 900 and something thousand people vote in India. 900 and something thousand vote in India. India is the largest democracy in the world. And you know why they say it's the largest democracy? Because they have about 250,000 political parties in India. What they basically do is form coalition all the time, But these parties are there, and people in the hinterland, in the most remotest of places, have access to voting. What is the difficulty in having a national identity? Either it's your driver's license, or it is a basic national identity that recognizes that you're a citizen of that country. And when you're going to vote, that is the basis on which you vote. So when my daughter turned 18 here, Election Canada sent her a card, birthday card, congratulated her for turning 18, and now told her she was eligible to vote. This is a girl I brought to this country at 9 years. The Canadian system already recognizes her. Why is that difficult to accomplish in Nigeria? Tell me. And you're talking about going to sit down and have a jaw over a constitution when basic administrative issues, we don't even know how to do it. Or we just refuse, we turn a blind eye to it. Is it not Jam that we wrote recently? And we're talking about glitch. Election 2023 glitch. We did Jam glitch. I'm waiting for the next glitch. These are basic. Everything comes to Nigeria and fails. Everything. In fact, Babangida is the one who said it. He says the things that work in other places come to Nigeria and somehow they fail. Because including SAP, Structural Adjustment Program, were done in other places and it gains results. Nigeria still didn't gain a result. Why is it difficult? These are human errors. Intentional human errors. This is not that somebody cyber attacked you. This is you intentionally being a witch to yourself. You said your best. So
thank you so much.
Brotherly, I don't have an answer to that, but I can tell you the simple answer is let's simply start doing everything. I will end with this. See, there are two words that go side by side. I have looked through, and every time you will see those two words together: righteousness and peace. Go and look at it. Those two words are intertwined. There is no way I've gone. Whether it is even in ordinary books, you will see those two words always, one follows the other. And once 1 + 1 is not equal to 2 in any society, there's chaos. If 1 cannot be 2, you add 1 and 1, and the answer is not 2. The moment is not 2. Forget it. So that's the problem.
Right. Thank you so much. As we begin to wind down, I will want each and every one of us to take 4 minutes and make his closing statement. I'll start from Mr. Tony.
Okay.
Okay. If you want.
I want to sleep, so let me make my own, and then
right.
please,
Tony,
if you allow me.
CM, go ahead.
Okay, yeah. You see, sure, say 1 + 1 is equal to 11. Anyway, well, it depends. So what I want to say is this. You see, like Chim said before he concluded, without Nigeria coming together to decide how they are going to live, no headway. Why am I saying this? At the height of Nadeko struggle, 1995, eventually they acquired the Sarowiwa. They were interviewing Bola Ige. Bola Ige said, maybe I may be alive or I may not be. But somehow, Nigerians must come round the table and answer 2 questions. One, do we really want to live together as a country? Like I said, yes, most people will say we've come a long way. Then number 2, under what terms? That terms is the constitution. Nothing more, nothing less. That's all. So, but why are we afraid of doing that? I'm Igbo, yes. The people, they say we are the majority or Wazobia. But will I lord it over to Ogoni or Isoko? I don't. By my nature, any Igbo man will tell you we are liberal. You can't. You can't. You have the conscience. You can't do that. So why can't we sit down and decide? This is how we are going to relate to each other. Professor Kingsley Mogalu made this thing, Oshomole, when they were talking at Abuja, Oshomole say, this thing called rotation, it means there's intent. What are we rotating? Mogalu said, Switzerland rotates power, called the cantons. According to their regions or cantons. Among all of them, yes, cantons.
Yeah, you're correct.
Mogalona asked Oshomole, is Nigeria that doesn't want to rotate, are they more developed than Switzerland? Because you see, when you are solving human problem, it's something that requires consensus. That consensus was built at Aburi. Aburi. But because of Gowon's inability to pronounce what they reached at Aburi, he said they had malaria. 4 months later, I started to break down 4 regions that were at least 4 regions into 12 states. Since then, the momentum has not ceased, and they look at where we are now. So Nigeria should go and revisit, like Ojuku said, to the very foundation of Nigeria. Let us not be afraid. It's just because we want to run away everything. Hey, if you talk now tomorrow, watch the National Assembly. There's a constitutional review going on. Amendment. What are you amending? What we didn't do. Americans can amend their constitution because in 1776, in the historic city of Philadelphia, they gathered to give themselves a constitution. They say, we the people. From there, they took off. Can Nigeria, why can't we come? Who are we afraid of? Are we afraid of the Ogoni having a say? Are we afraid of the Igede, Bachama? Are we afraid of them? Are we afraid of Isoko man having a say? Are we afraid of even if it's anywhere? So let's lay all this idea that we can move on. We are not moving anywhere. We are not moving anywhere. They can move on. Even if we don't want to use civil war, use June 12th for election. Move on, move on, move on. 30 years later, you are still calling the winner posthumous GCFR. Does it make sense? Oh yeah, number 2, you there alive. Come and take GCON. Hey, this June 12th, make we use them as a public holiday. Abiola Stadium, Abuja. All those ones are medicine after death. Now, Sule Lamido, please, so you should listen to this. In launching his autobiography, he said that Tinubu find a way of getting 45 billion, not million, and give to Abiola family. Let us close this June 12th chapter. You see, Nigerians, sometimes people talk like illiterates. Oh, this is human. You can't solve it this way. You cannot. This is not for nothing that South Africa has Truth and Reconciliation Commission. Mandela said we can't move on with this type of enmity we had appetite. Let us come together and forgive ourselves and move. Rwanda, look at Rwanda. Maybe spiritually they are now moving. What is holding Nigeria? We deny our past. Injustice everywhere. Sarawiwa was spied because he was saying, look at my environment. They drill oil in Texas. Can you see this in Texas and Oklahoma? Even Venezuela? No. But look at Ogoniland. He said, look, not that you can't drill, but look at my environment. They say, who are you to talk? Is that not why Sarawiwa died? So these are the reasons Nigeria feel that everything, it cannot. We must come together and then sit down and fashion. In the course of fashioning, we tell ourselves the hard truth. Failing it, na lie you, na so we go there ramble until one day, who knows? But it's not for me. Thank you very much and good night.
Thank you so much, CM. We appreciate your contribution and for your time also. I know it must be very late, almost like 3 or thereabouts or 2:30 in.
No, it's 4 minutes to 1:30. So let me see the type. Why?
All right.
Instead of saying
Okay.
1:26, I say 4
It's
minutes to
1:25. Doctor.
All right. Okay. Thank you so much. Have a good night, CM. God bless you. All right, Tony, your turn, sir.
Okay. I just want to give an example, and I'll relate it to Nigeria. Recently, the Supreme Court here in America made a ruling against Trump. That's a court that has majority Republican judge, leaning judges, and they ruled against the most powerful president in the world. I am wondering if that kind of a thing will happen in Nigeria, where the judges will look at the issues and rule, in favor of justice, even if it has to do against, even if it's something that is going to be against someone who they quote unquote have sympathies for in terms of political alignment. And I think that's the kernel of justice. Any country where if you feel aggrieved and you are not sure that if you go to court you get justice, that country cannot make progress. You will not have investors. Confidence in the system. Business people will not have confidence because usually in business there will be disputes, and the place to resolve it, is in the courts. And if your courts don't have integrity, that's a major blow. And everything revolves around that, justice. So I think the problem we have, is that even if we have leaders who are who bad leaders, so to speak, and people cannot go and ventilate their grievances, they don't have an avenue, then you're calling for anarchy. Because if the people don't feel they don't see, if they feel aggrieved and they see that, if they go to court, they will not succeed. Then the other option that is open to them is violence. So, but beyond that, even if they don't go on violence, that's a mockery of your government. That's not a government. That's basically, the international community will not have confidence in you. So it robs you of investment. So people will not have confidence in you. So, and I think that's part of the problem that we are facing here in Nigeria. How are we going to deal with that issue? I don't know. I don't know the solution. But I think basically the problems, we have articulated them here. We know what the problems are. But if we see white and we say it's black, I don't think that's the way to go. And for as long as we continue to tread on that path, then for so long is Nigeria going to be doomed. So I think that those of them who are genuinely seeking a path forward for Nigeria should look to strengthening our institutions, because it's not just the Constitution. Constitution provides for all those things, but people will operate them. If those who are operating them are not faithful to the oath that they have taken, then the Constitution is nothing. It just ends like a sheet of paper. There's no Constitution that is perfect. So even the ones that we have, how well have we implemented them? In line with the provisions of the Constitution. So everything goes in Nigeria. So if you have money, you can buy justice and so on and so forth. And that's unfortunate. Very, very unfortunate. Let me just stop there.
Thank you so much, Tony. We appreciate your contribution and your time also. Mr. Benson.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Okay. To start with what Mr. Tony said about justice. You see, all these things because of corruption. The corruption in Nigeria is too much, and now it becomes winner take all. Somebody wins election, he becomes everything. He becomes emperor in Nigeria. He becomes everything, and the people cannot react. That's the problem. And when somebody is talking about, I'm comparing. I said about Malaysia. It's Britain that colonized Malaysia. It's not Britain that colonized Namibia. No, it's not. And even at that, it doesn't matter how a country was colonized. What matters is the people, the level of corruption in that country. If the level of corruption in Nigeria is less, the things will work out. Level of corruption in Namibia and South Africa, Botswana is less. It's less. That's why they're moving forward. It's not about they're big or they're small or what. Even if they are small and the corruption is too much, it cannot move forward. You see, the problem is that their leaders are good. Their leaders have integrity. Their leaders are pushing the country even they have small resources, but the leaders are good. When you have a problem, you call the police comes immediately. But in Nigeria, when you call the police, you even go to police and give them bribe before they can come and see your case. So how do you think that the country can move forward? It's not about how many the country is, but it's about the governance. If the governance system is bad, the country can never move forward. And if the corruption is too much, the greed is too much, no way it can move forward. That is the problem. The justice system is bad, the military is bad, they are corrupt. Everything, every aspect of the Nigerian administration is too corrupt. And even at that, you start looking at the civil servants. How are the civil servants surviving? When to fill a tank, your car is about 70,000 or 80,000, and that's the salary of the civil servants. So what does it tell about the country? It tells you that the country is gone. Because if the civil servants are getting nice salary, like 150,000 or 200,000, a civil servant, then the money will circulate. You see, but when they are not getting this salary, the people who are leading will grab this money and sell it abroad. That's where they see the level of corruption. So in Nigeria, honestly speaking, even at that, this constitution we're talking about, as long as that constitution we're not, it's not perfect. But then, what of the implementation? Upon it's not perfect, have those implementing it don't even take it a very good way. When somebody can come in, he does what he wants. He put his only brothers or his boys in government. When you see a Nigerian today, honestly speaking, not those ruling and even those who are like we or anybody coming from Nigeria, you even look at that person. Is this person a really man? You are in a country where nothing is working. In a country that is, if the president say sit down, you sit down. If the son of a president, look at what the son of a president did recently. He went and they want to bribe some of the person and he beat him up, and everybody keep quiet. So when you see a Nigerian, a minister or somebody, a Nigerian who comes and say I love Nigeria, I can die for Nigeria, you start looking at that person. Is that person really okay? You can see the person is not okay. You
All
see,
right.
in another clan, in other clan, can a president's son do that what this guy did? But today nobody is arresting him. The DSS is not arresting him. Instead, the DSS will start looking for Yahoo boys. What they call it, them EFCC. EFCC is meant to arrest the corrupt leaders or the corrupt this thing. But instead they are not arresting this. They are arresting Yahoo boys. Who made these boys to be Yahoo boys? Because there is no employment. That's why these boys are being doing all this nonsense they're doing. If there's employment, for example, let's say in Malaysia, when you go to Malaysia or Singapore and see the level of industry and the companies, you when you come to Nigeria, you cry. People are
All right.
working. People have
You
no
need to
time to
round up.
talk nonsense.
You need to round up.
People have no time. People have no time in those areas. Even in Namibia, people have no time because the insurance, their social security. Nigeria
I
don't
agree
have
with
social
you.
security.
I
Nigeria don't
agree.
have a census. Nigeria nothing at all that you can say Nigeria have that makes a country. We only have a billion people. Even Nigeria is up to 150 million, but they say we are 250 million. And this is northern people. You people are saying not are poor, not are poor. Or who are the northerners? These northern people that is comprised of Niger, Chad. That's what is full in the north. It's the Fulanis, the Fulanis you see. It's the people from Chad. Nobody knows who are there. They just come in anyhow. They come. They
Okay. Thank you. Thank you so
unfortunate.
much, Mr. Benson. We have to stop at that point. Thank you for your being here all the time. We appreciate your contribution, and thank you. We will see if we can have a broadcast tomorrow. Maybe if it's going to be just 2 hours, we'll see. But that we'll leave that to later. Yes. Information warfare, aka OVA. Yes, sir. Your final thoughts, sir.
A final thought. No, not my final thought. I did die. I'll
No, I
still
mean
get
your
thought
final
to
thoughts
after
on
this.
this program, bros.
I mean,
I wish you
I'm in
welcome.
Nigeria now.
You
My
are still a young
spiritual
man.
life just kicking. As in Nigeria, you have to look towards to heaven.
Your
You
uncle
know.
still the president for Uganda. You can't go now. You're here.
Oh, final thought. Nigeria issue. Two books I will recommend, and I'll finish with that. First one is by called End Time by Peter Tochen. Then the second one is The Return of the Strong God by R.R. Reno. Peter
The Return
Tochen
of a
used,
Strong God.
huh?
Go ahead. I want to get the name of the book. The Return of a Strong God.
Return of the Strong God by R.R. Reno.
Okay.
So in the End Time, Peter Tochen used mathematics and history to analyze power within a nation state. Yes, it was focused on America, but the examples he gave resonate with us, Nigeria. He cited the 2016 presidential election in the United States, whereby about 20 Republicans candidates were in that primaries. So what it was trying to say is that a situation whereby the immiseration of the people, that when the larger majority of the people are becoming poorer, becoming immiserated, and we have a number of elites who are becoming disgruntled, who want power but there's no space. Then the result of that will eventually lead to a revolution. And that's exactly what, if you pay attention to the Republican rhetoric, right? There are a group of ideologues that take over the party and literally want to reset the country again. Hence the common sense rhetoric, and let's go back to the tradition and all that kind of a thing. That is where the return of the strong God comes in. They see that strong man in Trump, right? When he dodge bullets, he collects bullets, and the rhetoric changed from then. He's the man, he's the Superman. We need a man. So that's the idea. So how am I factoring into Nigeria? If you look at our presidential election, the last one, we will see across the all parties, we have almost close to 20, 30, 40 people who wants to run for president. Right? Those are people who are well-to-do, who are looking for either to protect their financial ratio or to go into the governance circle. But there's no space for them, even though at Tinubu they thought say just the room or elephant is big for everybody. You watch the coalition party meeting today, you will see the caliber of men. We go say this one should be president. And so when you see that, then you now look at the common man. How many people were plunged into poverty, into the administration circle since the coming of this president? And it's not going to get better, regardless of who come back next or in 2 years. And so when you see these two factors, they drive like that, it's just a matter of time before they will come together. And the question I always ask, if this kind of thing happen again, and if eventually we are going to have second civil war, the question I always ask is that, what is going to be the future of Nigeria? Is it going to be an Islamic social state, or we are going to have a pretty much technocracy that come in form of a republic? Because I said that because there is nowhere on this planet, I mean, anybody can prove me wrong. Also, let's put China aside. Nowhere on this planet Earth that, maybe outside the continent of Africa again, that you have a single person with so much power, over 100 million people, like the way our president does. Even in America, no, you are the power of the presidency. You get where reach for Texas. Texas go tell you, say, come, hold on there. The New Yorkers go tell you, come, you'll be president. But so when we find ourselves in a situation, but we have one man that can yield power. Once you say, hey, the whole nook and cranny go to shake. In this time and days, doesn't happen. So it's a lot of things that our elders and leaders are denying for their own benefit. They are denying, and the younger ones are becoming more increasingly being curious about why. That's why they argue about the two Nigeria fall into this category, right? It listen to the ends of the younger people, why things are not working like the way it should be. But on the other end, when you key into the elder space, say, okay, yes, we agree say this constitution, but we agree say this thing bad. But we can move on. So the elders are deceiving themselves at this point, while the younger ones are increasingly becoming impatient. So let's see how the next election will goes and what comes out of there. So our situation is hanging between us. Need to come, since we no agree, sit down, talk to ourselves, as you really alluded to. Something has to give. Something has to give. And all over the world is the return of the strong God. The idea of let's come together. No, every country today is looking for that man, that woman that can say, come, we got to put an end to this bullshit. We got to go to right? Traore and the rest of the rest and co. So that's what it is, an era. It's going to span in the next 10 to 15 years. But I just
so much.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much, Ovie. I have already downloaded the audio version of that book, so I'm going to hear it this night as soon as I leave here. And if you guys allow me to put in what Ovie said, is totally very, very correct. I have never seen anywhere again that one single individual who calls himself president, by just making a sentence, becomes law. And nobody challenges it. Nobody goes to court. The courts are afraid. The legislature is afraid. The people of Nigeria are even afraid. And the young ones that try to put up a resistance, we all turn around and condemn them. And the young woman that tried to put up a resistance will now call, in fact, the state is now going after her. And you know what that is? That's to show you that any of you who try this nonsense that she's trying will crush you also. So that whoever wants to make anything, you just have to shield and wait. That's what they're trying to project, not any other thing. Because I don't know, since government started taking people on to court for law of defamation, but that's a story for another day. The man who stole the money of the people of Kogi State, he's not been taken to court and dealt with. It's the woman who made a statement, whether it is right or wrong. That's the one that government is taking to court. What a country! Anyway, that's my opinion, and that's my opinion. So I will not say more than that. But let me stay humble to make up your round up for this discussion. It is not we are round up for this one because we're still going to have this discussion until the Friday of this week. So, what do you say so far? Are we making progress as a nation, or are we playing to the gallery? Boju boju, boju boju, okarabi, osisi, all right, oh, of course, it doesn't go anywhere. All of you start again after 2 days or after the other person is caught. Is that what we are doing now in this nation?
Okay, yeah, I think you know the answer as much as I do, and everyone here as well do. Yeah, we've not made progress, and I've always said that what is happening now in Tinubu's era, it's not different from what happened during Obasanjo or Babangida or any of those guys. Even up during Obasanjo's time, I think it was worse. The political climate. He had the singular privilege, after the military era to turn the fortunes of this country around, because he had all the goodwill. This guy who came in controversially, who has no goodwill really. Obasanjo had got the goodwill, all the support he needed to turn things around, but he just fluffed the opportunity. That's why I'm not, very happy with him. Yeah. The guy that was talking about Namibia, yeah, I would have wanted to ask him who colonized Namibia and then how Namibia was colonized, so that he said that it's not about how a country was colonized, but it was South Africa that colonized Namibia. And you know that what's happening in Nigeria, the
No,
brigand
no,
day,
no, no. It's Germany. South Africa took Walvis Bay. That's what they took. But Germany colonized Namibia.
with Germany, with Germany colonized Namibia. Germany were in Namibia for some years, and they were really brutal. But after they lost the First World War, are you going to say that after Germany lost the First World War, South Africa took over Namibia? And then when we are talking about South Africa, we are not talking about Jacob
I
Zuma
think I think you
or
are trying to
Nelson
say
Mandela.
that South Africans
Yeah.
were used to take over Namibia. People will no get freedom, no feel colonize anybody. They were still under a colonized entity.
No,
So
no, no. South Africa had freedom. The South Africa I'm talking about is the white South Africa, not the Jacob Zuma or whatever.
no, I think no, that's the wrong way to put it. If you say South Africa colonized Namibia, I mean, somebody person could say, "Come, when they get their
Okay,
own
yeah.
freedom."
We'll just say that the Dutch or
So
British that were
those who are saying the
colonized.
Germans could be right, and the
No,
British too. They
go
have their
and read
hand in
about
both.
Namibia. I
Thank
think
you.
you are just taking my time, with
No bread.
you're just trying to eat into my time by raising unnecessary debate. Because if you've read Namibia's, just go to one of these quick websites and read about Namibia, and then come back for this conversation.
Recommend a
Now,
book, more read.
the issue with Nigeria, that the young man or middle-aged man, I don't know his age, doesn't understand is that the British has structured Nigeria in such a way that it's very difficult. Like you say, oh, corruption. What is corruption? What is corruption? Is corruption a Hausa word or Yoruba word? That is a British word. and they are the authors of the corruption. So when someone talking about corruption, it's not an Igbo word. So they structured Nigeria in such a way that it will be very difficult for any tribe, say, oh, from the south, to say, oh, we want Nigeria to be like this, and it will be no. And someone was talking about people from Niger coming into northern Nigeria. Come on, they are the same people. These guys, the French and the British, just drew a line and separated people that were the same and are still the same. So what are you talking about? Niger people. What is Niger? What is Nigeria? These are Hausas, and they have no boundary, and you should never draw a boundary between them. So they are trying to tell you that, look, this boundary does not exist. And that should form the basis of the conversations that Africans should start having about these European boundaries. These boundaries that the Europeans drew. People should go back to their natural boundaries. And that's what, eventually, when all these far right guys, leaders across Europe and North America, they succeed with what they are doing, then Africans will start having that conversation about going back and redefining themselves, who they are, and restructuring themselves and their territories and taking over what belongs to them. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I appreciate your contribution. Chim, go ahead.
So what's the call? Just summary?
Yes, round up your final thoughts.
Well, so solving Nigeria's problem is pretty. I'm not okay. Let me rephrase. Solving Nigeria's problems shouldn't be a big deal. Yes, there will be challenges because people are going to have different views and ideas on how to go about it. People are going to have different. Like I listened to El Rufai's son when he was making his case against rotational presidency, and he began to, he had some very good ideas. He spoke very well, but you see, the point is that a lot of what is going on in Nigeria and what is inhibiting Nigeria are, like I repeated earlier, are self-inflicted. We can just start doing the very basic things. We have a president who can, so for instance, allow the electoral process to be fair. Let INEC do its job. If elections are conducted at the state level and Party C wins against APC, let Party C rule. Let your APC candidates show enough reason why people should vote for them. And if people say no, let's start with respecting the voters' views, the voters' rights. We had an election here, which was still contesting who won it in our minds. So those are some of the things, basic things I'm talking about. So, like I mentioned, if we're going to run a census, let the figures be accepted. Let it be fair. Don't go and count goats and sheep and go into it. When people are born, let the births be registered so that we have data for those things. These are just very basic things. Just do them, and we'll start marching towards transforming the country. But for as long as these things are not happening, we'll continue to speak all this to So let me not waste your time so you can go and enjoy the rest of your weekend, because me too, I want to go and do that to myself.
Thank you so much, Chim. I appreciate your contribution, really. Thank you. And like I said, we'll see if we can be here tomorrow. It's a public holiday after all, so I will see how it goes. The Black Panther. Your final thoughts.
Thank you, Mr. KJ. I hope you can hear me clearly.
Very good.
You see, most of us don't really understand the core problem we have. The core problem we have in two phases. One, we have imperialists trying to phantom out the way for their own survival. And we are, as a result, we are like the host. They need to be inside for them to survive. That is why you have France having the highest collection of the gold stolen from the East African in the Sahara sub-region. Now, the Prime Minister of Italy said one thing. He said France will be like a third world country if they cut off their hands from the African enclave. She was very precise. Now, sometimes I don't like using the West to solve our problem. Our problem is local. And I used to have some sort of problem with people that comes in to now use the Western system to solve the African system. We are different kinds. We have different mentality, and the way we reason is quite different. Now, somebody was talking about the factors. You see, let us differentiate it. There's a factor and there's a core. The factors, they are like the core gave birth to the factors. If we keep on clamoring on the factors, we are not going to solve the problem, the core issue. Now, you say you want to practice the Western culture, democracy, and they call it constitutional democracy. Now, what have you done, and what are the apparatus have you done? Because there's a process towards a constitutional democracy. Have you gone through the process of a constitutional democracy in Nigeria? The answer is no. So where do you expect a corrupt system brought into Nigeria? What do you expect that system to give birth to? That's the question for us all. And we know the answer to it. That the answer we are having here, this is the answer we are having now. That is why most of us are just jumping around the factors only. For you to have a population census, you need to settle your core. That is the constitution. That will give birth to an appropriate and a corrupt population census. That will make sure that we have a way of governing ourselves. But that has not been done. So why do you expect a very good thing from the corrupt constitution written by Abdul Salami and his cohort to bring out a solution to solve your solution, to solve your problem? No, it can't work. That is why I always go to Sir Abubakar, Awolowo, and Nnamdi Azikiwe. Awolowo said Nigeria is a geographical, expression. Sir Abubakar said our culture is quite different from the rest of the quote and unquote Nigeria. Why Awolowo said, Nnamdi Azikiwe said, if the Nigerian enclave, the politician, continue at this pace, what they are doing, Congo will be a mere play, a child's play compared to what's going to happen in Nigeria. Now the question is, how are we solving it? Are we solving the world that the three forefathers have spoken about? We have not. We have not solved it. We have not rallied around ourselves to see how we can be together. And how can we be together is for us to come together and talk. There's nothing bad in somebody from Cote d'Ivoire becoming a citizen of Nigeria. There's nothing bad if somebody is coming from the side to become a citizen. But if we have a due process, we have a constitutional democracy that has a way of curtailing any excesses from our environment, then we can have a good country. But now we don't have constitution. We are working with a makeshift, and the imperialists, they love it. And presently, when I was going through the press online, I saw the interview of the Niger Republic military president. He spoke one thing. I don't know if you have. Yeah, he spoke. Let me round up. He spoke one thing. He said Nigeria has been able to create a cell of Boko Haram in conjunction with the imperialists, and that is France. So they are disturbing, and they've now blown up the pipeline that will carry oil from the Niger Republic to other sub-regions. So, my brothers and sisters, we need to solve the core of our problem. If we become a country, then the Nigeria country as a whole, as a very nation, can declare a war on insurgents, and that will be solved. But presently, the Nigerian government has not declared war on insurgents. So where are we going? We are not going anywhere. So I thank you, Mr. KJ. May God bless you, and may God bless everyone that have come here. We need to go on the core of our problem and not the factors that this constitution gave birth to. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate your contribution. God bless you also. And please join us. We love you to be here, and your contributions are valuable. And we may not always agree, but whatever you say, you hold it yourself, and it's valuable anywhere. Free speech is still allowed. Thank you so much, Black Panther. Okay, and Black Panther will have been the last person, but Mr. Jide is here. I will give him just a few minutes to just make a comment, and then we'll wrap up the show for today. Mr. Jide, you're welcome. And because of the honor that Dr. Rudolph places on you, that's why I'm giving you an opportunity to just have a 3-minute conversation, and then we'll round up. If not, I will have just shut down. So let's give you 3 minutes.
Thank you, KG. Thank you. Thank you for giving me the opportunity. I know there's not a lot of time. Good to see you. Yeah, like I've listened to a lot of I've listened to bits and pieces of what everyone had to contribute on this show, on this topic, regarding Nigeria. You see, Nigeria as a country, we need to stop this political division between these ethnic political divisions, and I think we need to find a way to heal from our past. Like when it comes to the genocide during the Biafran War, the atrocities that were committed and all that. This is very legitimate, and I think we need to heal from that trauma. We need to heal from our past. That's number one. Number two is that like these ethnic divisions that we have in Nigeria, which is also a part of the legacy of the Biafran War. It has always been there, but it's part of the legacy that has culminated in the tension that you have in Nigeria today, from what happened during the Biafran War. And I feel like these ethno-religious divisions that we have, it is not taking us anywhere. Currently, the situation in Nigeria is getting really bad. We are currently in a very dire situation. Nigeria currently is not respected economically, politically, diplomatically, compared to our peer countries in Africa. Right now, South Africa is now in a pole position to hold diplomatic, geopolitical associations with different countries and make huge impacts in the continent and across the world compared to our country. And that's a very big problem. Nigeria's problem is very deep. I've always talked about the fact that Nigeria is a product of Western imperialism. And the only way for us to break away from Western imperialism is we need to radicalize ourselves away from Western thinking, and we need to move towards a revolutionary way of thinking. This so-called liberal multi-party system, it has not worked. We've been operating it for how many years now? For 26 years, we've been operating this liberal democratic system. Things have been getting worse. And the first thing is we need to unite. We need to stop these ethno-religious divisions. And the second thing is we need to begin to educate ourselves and radicalize ourselves towards revolutionary thinking. Peter Obi is not going to change Nigeria. Nothing is going to change. These are the same people, and we need to change our mindsets. And because the revolution starts from our mindsets. When our mindset changes and becomes revolutionary, then we are headed to the right direction. I will stop there. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Jide. Appreciate your contribution. You've just brought that contribution to a good close. And the question that remains is, if in the last election, a certain tribe of a group of Nigerians were told that if you're not from this tribe, you cannot vote, you should go back to your place and vote. This just less than 4 years ago. I don't know whether we're making progress in trying to detribalize our nation. I don't think we're doing good of that, because even till tomorrow, the question of indigeneurship still remains very high. In every space of form is written state of origin, state of local government. Those are things you don't even find in other developed nations. They don't ask such nonsense questions. But that is constantly keeping us divided. And I thank you for your contribution. And I just hope that between now and Friday, we will also be here. And Friday will be our final discussion on the question of the Biafra remembrance. If you have the opportunity, we would love to have you back. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Yes,
so
I'll join. Thank you so much, KJ. Thank you. Have a good night. Bye.
You too. Thank you. All right, that does it for today. We have been able to go down the memory lane, discussing exactly the Biafran question, the lessons learned from the war, and we have also been able to look at whether we have made progress from what we have been able to do or from where we are coming from, or is there a likelihood that what we have already played past, there will be a repeat of history. God forbid that we will repeat that history. So the time to make amends and make progress is now. Instead of saying God forbid and see go down the same way that led us to that place, it is now for us time for us to sit down and judge. The more we judge, the less conflict we have. But the Igbo question is something that Nigerians need to ask themselves. If you do not think we should play at the center of the politics and have positions of trust because you cannot trust the Igbo person, why allow them continually to be in the space called Nigeria? If you don't think that they are qualified to be citizens of that nation, the onerous thing to do is to allow them to move on and go their way. This call is not only being said by me, but by almost everybody who is thinking rationally in the nation of Nigeria. Some of those people are also Northerners, they are also Westerners, they are also South, and all that. In fact, some of those people are very known, political leaders in the nation of Nigeria. But for us here, it was just a stroll down the memory lane. And the professor made it so easy for you to hear first-hand accounts of what has transpired. For those of us who were either not born or were children who couldn't understand or comprehend what was going on. For those who lost parents, loved ones, a whole family, a whole community, the stories are so many and so numerous to tell. The Igbo land still have marks of what is the remains of the Civil War. And the story, and as it is now, irrespective of whether the Nigerian nation is afraid of that story has been told to generations and to continue to be told to generations yet unborn, because that's the story of the Nigerian nation. And of course, the Igbo as a people. And as a people, no Igbo family can say, that they were not affected one way or another. And so I say, if Nigeria is thinking that they can wish away the Biafran spirit, just like the Prof said, it has become a spirit and it's not going to go away. The only way it's going to go away is for us to sit down and have a reconciliation, a day set out, just like you have set out a day for June 12th, a day set out for the remembrance of the fallen heroes of the Biafra, those who, because of one thing or another, had to stand and give their life for the unity of the Nigerian state. Whether they are from Nigeria or they are not from Nigeria, whether they are from Biafra or they are from Nigeria, every life is worth it. Every life is something. Nobody can give life. Nobody should take it away, especially not for a cause that we can sit on the table and have a discussion. Now is the time for us to continue to have this discussion on how to heal, how to, put a day that these people who fell can be remembered. But then, that's all we have to say from this end. Ours is to bring the discussion to you, and then we leave you to make the final decision of whether it is something that we need to go forward with, worth discussing, whether we need a new constitution where every tribe, and remember, we're not saying just the Igbos, we're saying every tribe in Nigeria, even if they are just 500 people, but they're a tribe, they are worthy to be heard. and to have them, their representative at the center, stage of the Nigerian politics. That's what we are saying here. We're not saying that the nation should be left for the Igbos alone. We're not saying that the Southeast should be given to the Igbos alone. We're not saying that, no, we are saying that everybody should have, a equal share in the Nigerian governance of the Nigerian space, and they should be ably represented. Thank you so much, and thank you on behalf of the damages. I want to thank Kulata. Kulata is, is always here to support us. We thank you for all that you're doing. Thank you, Boom Boom Ray. Thank you so much, Ada, Dr. Ada. Thank you for all your time. All of you who spend Wachuku, great guy. And then Oga, yes, Oga, thank you so much for your contributions. And thank you also for being out there. Show, thank you so much. Oscar Blackstone, my friend from the other side, thank you so much. You have been very wonderful in supporting us here. God bless you all for your time. For those who didn't comment, whose names are not on my list that I can see, thank you also. We appreciate the time. Hey, forefather, my man, thank you so much for jumping in. Even with a short time you came, you made an impact. Thank you all. Your views are always welcome. We do not, stop. We may not agree, but we allow you to express your view, and that is your view, and it's important to us. And until maybe, this week, later this week. For those of us who have holidays tomorrow, we say happy holidays. And for those who go to work tomorrow, we say God bless you and have a wonderful week ahead.
Okudilio, nyekelanio, Olisamalugo mkoyene menenua. Okudilio, nyekelanio, Chukuna malugo yobia diocha. Agaranya chogo kowe bili, agaranya chogo kowe rienio. Owe chuku bezie chuku. Nuche chukwa busigi fegemeo, nuche chukwa busia ifegemeo. Ni fosolo ni asi alibazie. Oboye bebe agaranya muliba, oboye wuru agaranya mebi vesolia, mano agaranya mua. Oboye afyozie ni pakwa. Agaranya chogo kowe bili, agaranya chogo kowe rienio. Oboye chikubezio lisa. Nekwekwe kona bia, nanya na kekbe. Nekwekwe kona bia, ebem jelu ekweje gwanu mi femgeme. Umuwa watanu gwanu mi femgeme. Ejimgubwa, 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 ejimgubwa. Ekwe mbadike ekwe. Ekwe mbadike ekwe, ekwe anọkwa mbeme ijelubia, anọkwa mbeme ijelubia. Iwe bụ akpa ego wee bịa, iwe dọkwasị m n'ụkwụ, iwe na-ayọ m wee jụ, iwe na-ebe akwa, ị na-ebe akwa onye na-eti gị ekwe mbadike ekwe. Onye ibe m na-ewe iwe nya biko wee gbuo ya, ọsụkọsụ nwamkpi nya biko sugbuo ya. onye ife m na-ewe iwe nya biko wee gbuo ya ọsụkọsụ nwamkpi nya biko sugbuo ya selense